A bigger reward in a long manhunt. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Tomorrow marks 2 weeks since 10 inmates escaped from a jail in New Orleans. 2 of them still on the run.
Crime Stoppers today has increased its reward for information that leads directly to the arrest of each of these individuals, up to $20,000.
Darlene Kazanza is president of the New Orleans Crime Stoppers. The FBI and ATF also boosting their rewards for a total of $50,000 for each fugitive. One of the remaining escapees is a convicted killer, the other accused of rape and kidnapping. At least 14 people have been charged with helping escapees. The FBI also offering a $10,000 reward in the search for a former police chief turned killer and rapist, Grant Matthew Hardin, who escaped from an Arkansas prison last Sunday disguised as a corrections officer. A federal judge is keeping an order in place that blocks the Trump administration from revoking Harvard's ability to enroll foreign students. That means enrollment can continue while the legal fight plays out.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the Ivy League institution has allowed foreign students to create an unsafe environment for Jewish students. Harvard is challenging the Trump administration on multiple legal fronts, including a separate case over the freezing of federal grants and other funding.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. The administration is appealing a trade court ruling that blocks many of the president's tariffs. White House Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett.
We're right that America has been mishandled by other governments, that our tariffs are taking them to the table.
But the court says the president went beyond his authority using an Emergency Powers Act. A court in Argentina just declaring a mistrial in the case of 7 health professionals accused of negligence in the death of soccer legend Diego Maradona. This after one of 3 trial judges stepped down over criticism about her involvement in an upcoming documentary. America is listening to Fox News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare, and I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-790-1400. 800-790-1400. 800-790-1400.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
What we see is what we get throughout the afternoon. Periods of showers, couple of rumbles of thunder, but nothing to be concerned about. 60s to near 70. It's a little cool. Tonight, clouds, periods of showers, especially during the evening hours, 57. Friday, mostly sunny and nice, 75. A pop into the mid-80s and sunshine over the weekend. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Attention, have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10, $20, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-355-8282. That's 800-355-8282. Again, that's 800-355-8282.
Ready for instant curb appeal that comes with a 25-year transferable warranty? Call Rhino Shield today. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, aluminum, steel, cedar, and more. Over the past 20 years, we've done thousands of homes, businesses, churches, schools, condos, parking garages, large metal buildings, and strip malls, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks. We do flat and sloped metal roofs to extend their lives too. Proud to be veteran-owned and manufactured in the good old USA, so we're tariff-free. We're exceeding expectations every day. Evaluations are free. A+ rated with the BBB and a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
It's not too late for a deep spring cleaning on your home. Give my friends at Zerorez a call today. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $129 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning package. Visit ZerorezSL.com and tell me what the Mark Reardon special, or call 314-474-2020.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what you're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Oh, yeah, here's the moment you have been waiting for.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
Annie's out. Ryan and Brad are in.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
This is the Manny Fry Show.
Wow, I get a produced intro, too. The voice guy and everything, Brad. Hello, sir. How are you?
I am well, Ryan. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, and thanks for the invite. I get a couple of days here on the Annie Fry Show, and I got to say, that really threw me off. The first thing I thought of, did Ryan Wiggins cut a new version where he sings it, or is that just obsolete now and they don't play that on Fridays anymore? Because I enjoyed the Wiggins singing version.
We still have that version.
Okay, good. It's necessary. Oh, there's so much to talk about on the show today. And before we get too far into it, I know we're streaming live, the Annie Fry Show. You can find it at all the usual places, but there's a YouTube poll that was just posted. Brad, what's the question today?
Well, today's question is are you buying the official narrative on Jeffrey Epstein? Yes or no? We got to be kind of secret about this because there are social media rules, and I don't want us to get suppressed or anything like that. But do you buy it? Do you believe it? Kash Patel and Dan Bongino raised a bunch of eyebrows with some comments they had made earlier, and so I thought that'd be a great poll.
That would be good. We have some clips from that, too. It's so funny, the things that you have to do to not get kicked off of streams. Like on YouTube, for example, have you ever watched an old movie clip and they blur out the cigarette?
Yes.
And you're like, wait a minute, what is that? Oh, they blurred them smoking. That's a weird thing. But you realize that if YouTube algorithms pick that up, they could demonetize or kick the video off the stream. Now, the same thing is, topics like pornography is a thing. They kind of put asterisks and they change things around if they're discussing it, like it's a talk show and discussing it. And other things, too, like self-harm, for example. They're very careful of the way that they word it because if they say something, they'll get kicked off the stream. I understand what you're doing here because of the Epstein topic, and I don't think even back when it happened, I think immediately most people looked at it and said, what do you mean?
They raised a bump.
I don't know if I believe that. We should play a couple of clips because this could inform some people as they go to vote. How about we do Dan Bongino first? Can we do clip number 4?
Yep. Well, it's going to play here in a second.
I'm just telling you what we see in the file. I just want to be crystal clear on this. I am not asking anyone to believe me. I'm telling you what's there and what isn't. Right. There is nothing in the file at this point on the Epstein case, and there's going to be a disclosure on this coming shortly. We are working through there is video. That is something the public does not.
There's video of him killing himself.
No, not the actual act, but the entire MCC Bay. There was only one camera. There were other. video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this, we are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him. Right. There's just nobody there. So I say to people all the time, if you have a tip, let us know. But there's no DNA, there's no audio, there's no fingerprints, there's no suspects, there's no accomplices, there's no tips, there is nothing. If you have it, I'm happy to see it. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
Okay. Dan Bongino, a former talk show host. He was part of the Secret Service there for some years, too. Okay, let's go back and look at the whole Epstein and how things played out. I've always been skeptical of all that, and for a while there, it became its own meme, meaning that, hey, if you joked about it, you understood that everyone just assumed he didn't do it. Now, it's kind of interesting because you have a different era of transparency inside of the second Trump term, where at first they're tackling the JFK files, but they also said they're going to get to things like some different 9/11 files that weren't released before. I think that's not going to look good for the Saudis and some of these people overseas. I think what you're also going to find is some of the calls for investigations into Iraq, probably not going to be too flattering for what some people were really harking on, maybe some of the motivations behind why they acted the way they did. So we can also look at the Epstein files. They say they're going to open that up and post some things. RFK Jr., RFK files, rather. They already posted some of those. But there's a House committee that is investigating these things. So people are going to be called to testify the things not only they witnessed, but experts that have looked through the documents once they're released and try to give the American public a little idea of what's going on. So this is going to raise, I think, more, concrete evidence that I think what a lot of other people assume. I don't know if everyone will always be satisfied knowing that Bongino came out and said there's no actual video evidence, that, there's just one camera in that whole building or something, the one floor he was on. That doesn't seem right, too, right?
Well, that's what Bongino was saying in that clip. He goes, there are other cameras. There's just not a video of him actually committing the act to himself. That camera, that's the one that had the issue. But he's saying there's DNA evidence. There is nothing there that suggests that there was anybody else in that room with him.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Let's see what Kash Patel says, because he's got some comments on that, too. This is clip 5.
But there is a lot of conspiracy theories out there.
There are.
The Epstein thing, you dealt with Maria, you said, as far as you know, he killed himself.
I'm telling you, he killed himself.
The other thing on the internet is the Epstein files. What's the answer to that?
The answer to that is the same as everything else. I'm not going to withhold information from the American public ever, but I'm also not going to rush to get it out there in a format in which they can't rely on it. So on the Epstein matter or any other matters, we are diligently working on that, and it takes time to go through years of investigations, years of political maneuvering, and years of cover-up to get the American people what they deserve. And that's what I'm going to give them on everything.
Can I just say there's a few things? Even though I should trust what they're saying is honest, meaning that if they actually saw the things that they saw and they're giving an honest representation of the documents, materials that were presented to them, and they have seen everything, I should believe that. But why do I still not believe that? Why is it? Can I also say how much money did Epstein have? He was a millionaire, right? He wasn't a billionaire. But
he was, super wealthy.
He had an island. Now, the question is sometimes where this money come from. That's a big question, too. But let's put it this way. People that have endless amount of wealth also have endless amount of lawyers, and they don't give up hope that quick, I don't think. He seems like the type of guy that wouldn't have put an end to it so quickly. That, to me, I don't understand that either. There's a lot of questions to it. So maybe that's why the poll question's a good one. So people can go online to YouTube and vote now.
Yeah. Go on YouTube, youtube.com/@AnnieFry. You leave us a comment telling us why you voted the way you voted. We want to hear your theories on the situation. It's one of those things that goes away. And when Annie's here, she talks about it because she wants to get to the bottom of not just what happened in that situation, but the whole Epstein list. We want all the Epstein files. We want to know everything. We want to get to the bottom of it and make sure that we have the truth in that, because really there are some, like you were saying, big and powerful people that were involved in this or allegedly involved in this, and it could have affected the way things happen in the government, in the world. And honestly, we're talking about kids. So we want the truth on it.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing what the poll results are there. We heard some of this with Brian Kilmeade on the program right before we went on the air, and he was discussing some of the different things when it comes to the Trump administration, in particular Elon Musk, saying that his time has come to step aside, go do his regular job, his side hustle of helping the American people. It seems to be at the end of it. One interesting thing Kilmeade mentioned is that the staff that Elon put together will still be there looking for government waste. So Elon Musk is now pretty much done with Doge. So Musk's designation allowed him to work in government for 130 days while being exempt from some rules regarding ethics and conflicts of interest. That period was about to run out. Now he's gone. So interesting time. Government waste, and then they put this giant big bill together, and it seems like we're adding more waste into it, which is completely counterproductive. And one of the things that Kilmeade mentioned there that I totally disagree with, he's saying that when you're Elon Musk, you have to realize you have to convince and work with other people, and knowing that you're not always going to get your way. So that compromise is going to lead for you to sign on to things that you don't want to sign on to. I thought Republicans were all on board with cutting the budget and trying to get rid of some of this wasteful spending. Why are we negotiating with some of these people to add more wasteful spending? That was something I thought everyone going into this election, at least that voted Republican, were lockstep in. But that doesn't seem to be the case. They're trying to convince people that we have to allow some of this wasteful spending. I don't get it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
What do you...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, with all of that, you watch these bills and you watch these things go down. Do you think it was all for naught? Do you think this whole Elon thing was just wasted time?
No, I don't think the Elon thing is wasted time. I don't think that the big, beautiful bill was as big and as beautiful as it could have been, or as I wanted it to be. I think it was as big and as beautiful as it could have been given the current circumstances in Congress. I get it. You're herding cats. You've got, with the Republican Party, you've got people that are very center of the road, center right, and then you've also got your Thomas Masseys and your Chip Roys. And what you've got to try to find is something that will get you enough votes. So make enough people happy that'll get you enough votes. And then you've got an 8-vote majority, and they were able to get this through with 1.
Mm-hmm. That's at least in the House, yeah.
Yeah.
So Senate, a whole different thing. And part of the conservative Republicans, and now they're going to have to come up with some compromise, at least on the Senate side. I'm a big fan of Rand Paul. I think he's right on when it comes to our looming debt problems that have been looming for, I don't know, how long now? 2 decades. I mean, it's been a long time coming. It basically, after 2000, we've seen, steps turn to bunny hops, turn to leaps, turn to sprinting as we continue to raise up the national debt. And then COVID hit. And, I think they hopped on a bullet train. They're still moving in that direction. So when you find the percentage of spending that we have based on the amount of money coming in versus the amount of money coming out, and we're looking at that number continue to rise even after the COVID years, I think a lot of financial experts are saying that we're past the COVID times. We have to reel it back.
Yeah.
We're not reeling it back. I have a hard time trusting that politicians in the future are going to all of a sudden start to be responsible, because a big part of this is, we anticipate more money coming in the future, which will make up for this. We anticipate more cuts in the future, which will make up for this, because when they project these, $3.5 to $4 trillion that'll be added to the deficit, the big defense to that is it'll be made up down the line, because, you're looking a decade out. And when you look that far out, there's going to be additional cuts. We just can't get it all done right now. Who believes that? Like, who believes all of a sudden they're going to wake up and be responsible fiscally? I don't think anyone does. So unless you just do it right now, there's no reason for me to believe you'll ever catch up to that, $3 trillion, $4 trillion number in order to make this balanced. I don't think it'll ever happen unless you just right off the bat make it balanced.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm of the mindset that I think that it's something that you can work toward. I look at it as steering a ship. You can't just spin it on a dime. You've got to wean people off of the, entitlement programs that have been put out there. It's really, really hard to get people, once you've given them something, to then take it away without a lot of blowback and all that sort of stuff. And I think you got to wean people off of that and cut it slowly, but definitely cut it. I know that I forget what the exact number was, but they cut something like $1.9 trillion of spending out of it, but we're still like $500 billion going into debt each year with this new budget. Mm-hmm. So I think that you can do it, but I don't think that you can rip it off so fast. That would be such a shock to the system of the American people that things wouldn't go well. And then what you would end up with is a midterm where the Republicans get wiped out. Trump's presidency is essentially over because what the Democrats are going to do is just launch a bunch of investigations into him and lawsuits and stuff like that. So he won't be able to get anything done. And then once a Democrat returns back to the White House, what they will do is they will add back all of that spending. It'll all immediately go back. And so maybe you saved spending for a year, maybe two, but it'll go immediately back once Democrats get back in charge. You really have to shift that Overton window.
The investigation side and the sandbagging, I mean, that was his first term, and he somehow got past that. I mean, there was, all things considered, everything that was thrown at him, everything in the kitchen sink, he still had some pretty big things that happened during that first term. We may have to talk more about this because I know we have to go to break, and Hans von Spakovsky, I think he joins us after the break, Brad. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
This is a big one. Another this story about the debt and Elon Musk and all these other things when it comes to the future Doge cuts. That's not going away. We'll have to pick that up later. But with Hans after the break, we want to talk about these Harvard lawsuits. He's a legal mind. I want to see what he thinks about Harvard suing the Trump administration trying to get some less money going Harvard's way, which I support cutting money for Harvard. So we'll continue the conversation with Hans von Spakovsky coming up after the break. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Andy Fry on the Manny Fry Show. Don't go anywhere on 97.1 FM Talk.
When you realize the gem I am, but this won't work now the way it once did. I won't keep it.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show.
You already know about the Retirement Advisory Group. Maybe you've been to one of our events, but I don't need to tell you about a specific date at a specific place for you to be able to contact and partner up with Thomas Helbig, with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group. You can do that right now when you call 314-993-9494. You want to protect your retirement? You need the right people to usher you out of your working years into your beautiful, exciting retirement years? That's when you call Retirement Advisory Group. Again, 314-993-9494, retirementkey.com. Come in and get a free retirement review. They'll even give you a free copy of their latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement, so that you can be incredibly knowledgeable and informed about the things that the Retirement Advisory Group can help you do, and making sure you know what to expect in retirement. 314-993-9494. Give Retirement Advisory Group a call. Online at retirementkey.com.
You want to retire soon, but everyone keeps telling you to wait until you're 65. After all, that's the age that you qualify for Medicare and you're close to full retirement age. I'm Marvin Mitchell, president of Compass Retirement Solutions. In my new book, Retire Early, The 9 Critical Decisions When Retiring Before 65, I discuss proper planning to help make early retirement possible. When to take Social Security, what to do with your 401k, health care, how to maximize retirement income, and much more. Get a complimentary copy of Retire Early by calling 1-800-743-8510. That's 1-800-743-8510. Can you retire early? Call 1-800-743-8510 for your copy of Retire Early, The 9 Critical Decisions When Retiring Before 65.
Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois. Compass Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is celebrating 55 years of residential and commercial service, maintenance, and installation of heating and cooling systems. Get in your comfort zone. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
It was dark and I was over.
And welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry, and we'll be here the next couple of days. It's more like the Manny Fry Show. I love that the voice guy has prepared that for Brad and I. Joining us now is a senior legal fellow with the Heritage Foundation, Hans von Spakovsky. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today, Hans.
Ryan, thanks for having me.
There's a lot going on, but in particular, you're a great legal mind. And looking at what's going on between Harvard and the Trump administration, the Trump administration contends, all right, Harvard, if you're going to harass Jews on your campus, then maybe you shouldn't be getting federal money. Harvard says, no, we should be allowed to do that. So they're fighting back at the Trump administration. That might be too general in the way I'm portraying this, but I wanted to talk about these Harvard lawsuits. Is there anything that stands out in these lawsuits to you?
Well, what stands out to me is how, frankly, shocking it is at Harvard having done absolutely nothing to stop the rampant anti-Semitism that infected its campus, its faculty, that led to the harassment, even physical assaults of Jewish students. And when the federal government finally comes in and wants to do something about it, what do? They file suit. And remember, all of this was going on during the Biden administration, and what did the Justice Department of the Biden administration do about it? They refused to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm. And part of that, was it just more acceptable then? The answer is no. So you finally have someone that's doing something about it when it comes to the Trump administration, saying that we can't treat human beings like this. You can't, on a public university campus, well, I guess not public, but at least the case of Harvard, you can't do this on a college campus where you have people threatening physical violence against someone because they're Jewish. And to say that, okay, we're going to give you a chance to clean this up. We gave other universities a chance to clean this up. The other universities did clean it up because they agreed this is not the right thing to be doing. I don't know why Harvard's digging into the sand on something like this. Like it's a giant constitutional protection that they should be able to harass Jews. I don't understand that.
Well, I tell you, what people ought to realize is the history, the frankly bad history of Harvard University. This is like a repeat of what Harvard did. Harvard is infamous for, in the 1920s, the president of Harvard, this has all been documented, the president of Harvard decided there were too many Jewish students getting accepted at the university. They were doing extremely well. They had outstanding academic credentials, and he didn't like that. And that's he put in measures to specifically try to exclude Jewish students from getting accepted. Have you heard the term all the universities use called the holistic admissions process? You know, one where they try. That was invented by Harvard in the 1920s to keep Jewish students off the campus. And that's the kind of behavior. Look, the other thing that occurs to me as an everyday American out in the provinces is, why is Harvard even getting any federal money? They have an endowment of over $53 billion. I don't know. My kids didn't go to Harvard. I don't have any. None of my brothers or sisters' kids went to Harvard. Why is my tax money going to this elite private university with a $53 billion endowment? I don't think they ought to be getting any federal money.
Hey, Hans, this is Brad. Real quick, the argument that I'm seeing, and actually we've got the YouTube live chat going on here, and I'm seeing it from some of the left-leaning members of our chat. They're wondering, well, what is it about this how is this not a violation of the First Amendment?
Because discrimination against students, including allowing and encouraging a hostile physical environment. Look, there's video out there of Jewish students being attacked on that campus. That is a violation of the 1965 Civil Rights Act. You cannot engage in that kind of behavior in the educational setting. That is discrimination, blatant discrimination, and under federal law, if you as a university violate the Civil Rights Act and other education acts, you are not entitled to federal funds.
Mm. Can I point out something else? And this goes back to the Biden administration, which kind of shows the pattern that Harvard has. If you remember, one of the controversies with Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was that, she was associated with Harvard. She was part of their board of overseers. And part of their game plan was, hey, we're Harvard. We have too many Asians. So we need to discriminate those of Asian descent because we should be allowed to do this sort of thing. So I think Harvard has a pattern of discriminating against minorities, let it be Asians or Jews or whatever it may be. And finally, someone called them out for it, saying this is not normal. It happens to be the Trump administration. So why is it that Harvard feels like in their, keep in mind, they want to be looked at as the top institution in the world, that they should be immune from discrimination laws? Because the Supreme Court, I know that Supreme Court Justice Brown Jackson decided that she didn't have to sit in that one because there was a conflict of interest. But still, the Supreme Court didn't like the idea when it came to admissions in Asians. So why would they be okay with this?
Well, because, and I looked very intensely when this case was up, the one you're talking about, I looked very intensely at I knew the lawyers in that case. I looked at and reviewed the discovery that they did, the depositions of Harvard administrators, the physical evidence, documents they've had. The Harvard administration, they believe there's nothing wrong with that kind of discrimination. This is a matter of ideology. They think that they were doing the right thing by discriminating, for example, against Asian American kids. They thought there was nothing wrong with it. And remember, when the Supreme Court issued that decision against Harvard saying, no, you cannot discriminate, that's a violation of the Civil Rights Act, Joe Biden actually came out and gave a speech and encouraged Harvard and other universities to ignore the Supreme Court. And the Civil Rights the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department, which is supposed to enforce that law, not only refused to go after Harvard, actually went to the Supreme Court and supported Harvard's claim that they ought to be able to discriminate.
I look at that and I think to myself, you can substitute, you can say these people of Asian descent that were discriminated when it came to admissions. But to me, it opens up the door of all these other areas where they could be discriminating. It might not just be admissions, but me logically would be thinking to myself, it's probably stretches way past that. Then we see it on the campuses in the way that they treated Jewish members of their community, the ones that they were allowing to be harassed on their own campus. Can I play a clip for you from Harvard law professor Lawrence Tribe? And let me get your reaction to this. Brad, this is clip number 1.
Well, it's really hard, Lawrence, to know where to begin. He's obviously unhinged. He has no idea what he's talking about. He just thinks that slinging around, frankly, BS about the people at Harvard and other institutions will somehow substitute for taking the law into account.
All right, so basically criticizing the Trump administration, calls his attacks on schools unhinged. What do you think of that?
Well, I suggest that he's maybe gotten too old to watch the actual videos or to read the complaints filed by Jewish students, for example, who, as I said, were intimidated, harassed, attacked. Look, I know of a professor at one of these universities. He's a friend of a friend who is Jewish, who's had to hire private security to protect himself on campus, and because the university won't do it. That's the kind of misbehavior that we have been seeing at places like Columbia and Harvard University. And for the professor to try to deny it's happening, well, he's not living in the reality of Cambridge, Massachusetts.
When we just look at this case, just based on what's written, so when you look at some of the different legal standings leading into this, how do you think this will play out?
Harvard has no constitutional right to federal funding. So, yeah, they're going to get friendly judges in the Boston area, I'm sure, to rule in their favor initially. But that's exactly what happened in the admissions discrimination case. Harvard was sued. The lower court judge there refused to go against the very powerful Harvard University. So did the Court of Appeals. It went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and Harvard lost. That was a place at the U.S. Supreme Court where all their money and all their powerful alumni could not change the results.
Yeah. Can I tell you something else that drives me crazy? I saw those reports, and I think it was the New York Post today. They were showing some of the salaries of these professors, and there was one professor, I think they were the 7th or 8th highest paid person on the campus. One professor makes $1 million a year. Why are we giving money to Harvard if they can afford to pay professors $1 million a year? They don't need money if that's the case. This is so ridiculous to me that I know it's a matter of principle for Harvard. And I will say this, what principle are they standing on? The principle to say they have the ability and they should have the unchecked ability to harass minorities. I don't understand that principle.
Well, if they want to be able to do that, it's wrong under, like I said, under the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and fine, then don't take any federal money. Don't expect all of us in the rest of the country to have our tax money going to you when you've got a $53 billion endowment.
Right. So, Hans, what have you been working on lately? You have a podcast now.
I actually have started a podcast. It's called Case in Point. And our latest episode is going to get released this afternoon, and I interview one of the senior policy analysts at the White House. So this is an aide to President Trump. So I got some pretty interesting people.
So the podcast is called Case in Point,
Correct.
And it's available wherever you get your podcast. Of course,
right.
With the Heritage Foundation, you write articles, and I see them. And I got to tell you, Hans, you are such a great legal mind. I'm glad that you are expanding into the podcast world. I can't wait to hear this because this will be, I haven't actually got to listen to the show yet. So this will be my first. So I'm looking forward to it. Case in Point, wherever you get your podcasts. And Hans, if people want to look you up online, where else can they go?
They can go to heritage.org/case in point. Very easy.
Oh, that's a real easy spot to find it. Hans von Spakovsky. Wow. Let's see how this plays out. I know there's going to take time, and all these legal issues take a long time to go through the courts. It must be hard, at least in modern time, for you to keep up because it seems like the Supreme Court has been taking on a lot of emergency cases as of late. So it's like before you used to have a couple of years leading into a trial or a case, and now it's like, man, they crank them out. It seems like every other week there's something new. So
it is. I just got a list of temporary stays they just issued, 8 cases just in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's lightning speed for these court cases. Hans von Spakovsky, thank you so much for joining us here today. We really appreciate it.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
And go to the Heritage Foundation's website or just do a quick search wherever you get your podcast and look for Case in Point. I'm going to have to download that here soon when it drops. Brad? That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And Han's such a great mind for this. I love him as a guest. He is so good.
Well, he's so good, and he has such a deep knowledge of the Constitution and constitutional law, and I think it's really, I thought it was great the way he pointed it out. It's like Harvard doesn't actually have the right to the money that they've been getting from the government. So, and then you go around, you mess around, you violate people's civil rights, and this is what happens. So,
yeah. All right. Coming up after the break, a few things I do want to talk about. And there's one where Marco Rubio is talking about how the United States will start revoking visas from Chinese students. Let's discuss that, among other things. I'm Ryan Recker filling in. Go vote in our YouTube poll, which is going on right now. Big question on the YouTube poll. Are you buying the official narrative on Jeffrey Epstein? Ooh, we'll get the results at the end of the show. It's the Manny Fry Show. I'm Ryan Recker filling in on 97.1 FM Talk.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show.
The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
If you worry your roof may be damaged from the recent storms, don't trust just anyone. Call my friend Curtis at Corel Roofing for all your repairs. Mark Cox here. Watch out for those out-of-town storm chasers. They hire anybody they can pull together quickly. Corel Roofing is local, and they have crews with over 20 years of experience in the business. They don't overcommit. When other roofing companies do that, quality suffers and customer service drops off. They pay a lot of attention to details. They use quality materials, and you can trust their workmanship. I'm trusting Curtis Corel to fix my roof. You can trust him as well. They also specialize in all the luxury line roofing, slate, architectural shingles, metal roofs, and other luxury shingles. He's done work for a friend of mine, and it's outstanding. You can call him at 314-222-9529. That's 222-9529. Or on Facebook at Corel Roofing.
This is attorney Todd Nissenholtz of Kaufman Townsley. We know the loss and the cost of an accident. Because when an insurance company offers a lowball settlement, we go to war for you and take the fight to the insurance company. Call 314-500-5000.
Lifestyles Unlimited member Lisa appreciates having mentors who have her back.
Having the faith to move forward, and y'all have everything provided. I could call a mentor and say, hey, I don't know what to do. Someone is always there to guide you. I have backup.
Lifestyles Unlimited. Over 33 years teaching the real estate retirement roadmap. Text the word radio to 88007. That's radio to 88007. Join now for $297, a 60% savings. Lifestyles Unlimited. Text radio to 88007.
Today's YouTube live chat poll. Are you buying the official narrative on Jeffrey Epstein? It's a yes or no question, but we want to hear your thoughts and your theories on this. So jump on Annie's YouTube page, vote in the poll, and then leave us a comment saying why you voted the way you voted. We will mark that comment, and we might read it later on in the show to get your thoughts on it. The time is 12:42. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
JerryKelly.com.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Hey, welcome back. Thinking about the interview with Hans von Spakovsky there, Brad, maybe this is something you have, generally speaking, a mindset if you're far left that you hate billionaires, you hate the wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
No one should be able to accumulate wealth more than what you have. And once you get to a certain point, they want to tax you 100%, essentially use the government to go in and just take your assets because you don't deserve it. You didn't. They do this whole way of Obama thinking, which is you didn't build that, right? So the backs of all these other workers, so you don't actually deserve all this that you've worked for your entire life, whatever it may be. So they hate the billionaires. They hate even millionaires, multimillionaires, things like that, just because, they've accumulated wealth. Why is it that they then are cool with places like Harvard, who have billions and billions of dollar endowment, and they don't feel the same about Harvard, but they're perfectly okay with the United States government continuing to fund them, even though they've got $50+ billion sitting there in the bank? It just seems so hypocritical. I don't understand why they don't turn on Harvard, and this is one of those moments where conservatives and liberals could actually be in agreement.
One, I think it goes back to, at a more cynical level, it goes back to who are they supporting? Who does Harvard support, and what type of ideals does Harvard support? And if even a millionaire or a billionaire, like in the case of J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois, billionaire, as long as they're espousing the correct principles, they won't come after them. You're protected class. We're not going to go after you. You're doing our thing. But I think the other side of it is, too, it goes back to, what do they call it? Intersectionality, and how there are classes of people that are oppressors, and then there are classes of people that are oppressed. And they look at that and they say, if anybody has a disproportionate success, they must be oppressing somebody. So you look at Harvard, and because Harvard is going after a group that leftists believe are disproportionately successful, i.e. Jews and Israel, they will support the other people who they view as oppressed. So Harvard looks like they're leaning their support behind the Palestinians and that. And so the leftists are like, well, then we're going to support Palestine. And I think there's one more element to it, and it's Donald Trump said that was wrong, therefore I'm going to say this is right. So I think it's those things.
I would like to know who they think Taylor Swift is oppressing. Because she's a billionaire too, isn't she? Like with her music and stuff. Who is she oppressing?
But remember with Taylor Swift, what are her politics? She lines up with the left, so they leave her alone.
You know, it was funny because there was a thought that she perhaps could have some conservative views because of where she grew up and how she grew up. And as soon as something like that was even theorized, it's like they realized it was bad for business. So she's like, better separate myself from that. But I will cling on to other more liberal views because that seems like it is just fine. But she's got a lot of money and they don't go after her with pitchforks, I guess. So she hasn't been to space yet. I guess they would. I mean, the minute she goes to space, they'll turn on her. I can guarantee that. Marco Rubio says the U.S. will aggressively revoke visas of Chinese students. And a move, and I'm getting this right up from the Hill, but pretty much every news agency is writing this up. U.S. Department will work with the Department of Homeland Security to revoke the visas. It will be revised visa criteria to enhance scrutiny of all future visa applicants from the People's Republic of China and Hong Kong, according to a statement from Rubio. The whole idea is you're going to be bringing in people that don't like the United States. So they may be sympathetic or maybe on the side of or on behalf of the Chinese government, which is not a good thing. And what we found is an increase in Chinese spies that come in through the school system. I mean, what was the one guy, Seoul? Who's the dude that was dating the Chinese spy?
Oh, Eric Swalwell.
Eric Swalwell. Yeah. He wasn't just dating. I think they were, what do they say? Shagging. Is that the proper term?
It's a term. I don't know if it's proper.
I think that's what was pretty much universally agreed on, even though he does not admit it. But there was something going on there.
Yeah. What do they call it? I think they call it a honeypot trap.
Honeypot trap. So you put your hand. Yeah,
that's the special. That's the special agent undercover lingo for that kind of person. Is this girl that flirts with a guy, at the very least, flirts with a guy to get information from him.
Right. So looking at different countries, and sometimes these students have allegiances to those foreign entities, and in some cases, they're entities that hate the United States. And they may be working on behalf of those foreign entities. Is it wrong to tell them they can't come over here on a student visa just because they're young? Should they get some sort of leeway that we just need to believe they're here for the education? But the Trump administration says, no, education or not, if you can't sever your ties with these communist parties that are out there to get the United States, then you can't have your education here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board with that. Why would we educate or provide education for people who are going to go back then and potentially, as our competitors, use that education against us? If the best education in the world is in the United States, which I think the evidence suggests that it is, because that's where everybody sends their kids to get an education. There's like Harvard and Yale, and then I guess in England you've got Oxford, but outside of that, where else do people send their kids to get a huge, awesome education? It's in the United States. And so why would we support a group that purported goal is to take our place, to supplant us as the world power? I'm not for that. And then on top of that, you've got people that are basically spies coming into the United States.
Oh, not basically, literal spies. I mean, they were caught spying. There's a very famous one up here in Michigan, University of Michigan. There were these students that were going to these military bases and literally spying on them and sending the results back. And then when they got caught, they tried to flee the country. Some of them did. They were caught in foreign airports and brought back here. So, I mean, there's no question about it. There's some of that is going on. I don't know how often it happens. But we can say this, in the comment from China, their Minister of Foreign Affairs told reporters, and that person's name is Mao Ning, which is very similar to the basketball player, but not the same person, in case you're thinking it. said that the Trump administration of using national security and ideology as a pretext for the unreasonable decision, which seriously damaged the legitimate rights and interest of Chinese students and disrupted the normal cultural exchanges between the two countries. Added the political and discriminatory practice of the U.S. has exposed the lies of the so-called freedom that the U.S. has always advertised. So, hey, we're anti-freedom now because we don't want Chinese spies to come into our universities. That's quite the way to spin it, I got to say. I think Harvard would be proud to have them as lawyers.
Masters of spin. Holy cow. You sit there and it's like, oh, you guys don't even believe in your freedom principles. And it's like, you have no room to talk. You have no room to talk. If somebody disagrees with the party line in China, you disappear. You disappear.
Yeah,
Nobody knows what happens to you. Don't talk to me about freedom. And no, we're not going to help you spread that nonsense around the world.
No, I know exactly what happens to them. They go into a camp and they start making Nike shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sell them for pennies. And then, well, the tariffs kind of screwed some of that up still. But that's what happens. So here in the United States, we understand that China is not a friendly country. We understand that they don't have our best interests. I don't know how you would be able to vet these different visas because how do you know they're telling the truth or not? I mean, there could be people that honestly want this education and this is their dream. And how would you be able to differentiate? And part of it is Marco Rubio saying that we need more scrutiny so we could tell the difference between those that are coming for an education and those that are not. And until we have that criteria and that system in place, then maybe we just don't do it, right? That we got to be able to weed out people that are out there just to not get an education.
Right.
And to me, this is not super controversial. I understand that there's going to be instances where you're going to get it wrong. And, I get that. But what are the big universities in China? Do they have any? I couldn't name any.
They do, but I wouldn't know what they are.
I wonder what that's like to go to college in China. Like, could you imagine like all the protests that we see on college campuses here in the United States? I mean, it's like every other day there's a college protest that's going on. And, they want everyone to listen to them. What do you think it's like? Is it just like they walk single file quietly to their classes?
No.
Like, how does that work?
No, I would honestly, I would imagine it looks like a modern, United States college campus in the sense that you go in there and then you're fed the indoctrination line and then you leave. But other than that, you're kids and you do kids things that are acceptable within the Chinese Communist Party. I don't think that they're standing in front of tanks anymore. So
no, and they never have. If you try to Google it, they'll tell you.
Yeah, that didn't happen. That picture's fake.
That didn't happen. Try to get their knockoff AI to try to admit these things, and when they realize their error of admitting it, boy, does that shut down pretty quick. I don't know any. Have you ever heard of one person in your entire life who said, I've always wanted to go to college in China? Like, have you heard of anything going the other way?
No, I haven't.
I've heard of people like go to England over in the UK. Yeah. Was it Oxford and some? And I even knew some broadcasters. They wanted to work for the BBC, so they went to school overseas, and they followed their dream that way. I understand that, and I think there's some foreign places where there might be some really interesting or world-renowned physicists or mathematicians or artists that they have to go and experience it, and they can only be there to experience it. I can't name one person in my entire life who ever once considered going to school in China. Like, I'm just going to give up my citizenship and then go study there because I know what would happen to them. They wouldn't be seen again.
Yeah.
They would be thought of as a spy. I mean, wouldn't they? The Chinese government would treat these kids like spies, just like the United States is suspicious of these students coming from China.
Yeah.
I think that Marco Rubio is onto something here. Can I this is kind of adjacent to this. I think Marco Rubio's maybe the biggest rising star in the Republican Party right now.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think that heads and shoulders above any other Republican when it comes to planting their flag to, become the nominee for the next president. I think even more than J.D. Vance, that he has made such a big impact, Marco Rubio, that's I got to tell you, I've been so impressed with everything he's doing, and it shattered all my expectations for him. Because, Marco for a while kind of was like a punchline. Like, oh, he's the guy that reached for the water off stage. And, he had his chance when he was young, but now he's not young anymore. But man, has he made an impact these first 5-6 months in the Trump presidency.
He has done a phenomenal job. Every time he says something, every time he goes before Congress, every time he goes before the Senate, every time he institutes a policy, when he engages with the media, he's got a clear, defined goal, and he knows what he's talking about too. So he knows what he's trying to convey. He knows the information that he's trying to do it, and then he does it, and he's implementing great policy. Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% on board with what you're saying there. A rising star, probably, if not overtaking J.D. Vance, at least pushing him for possible nomination in 2028.
Yeah.
Annie's a huge fan. She loves what he has to say and what he's doing. And the thing that I like the most about it is because before this, you were talking about this a little bit. He had this air of rhino about him. Fair or not, people looked at him that way. And based on what he's been doing so far, he's really just kind of, wiped all of that away. He is showing that he is actually America first, which I really like.
Yep. Oh boy, we don't have time for this. Maybe we get to this in another segment. But speaking of, immigration and such, there's this AP story: Trump administration revoking permission for a 4-year-old Mexican girl who receives life-saving medical care from a California hospital to stay in the country. Attorneys for the family said on Wednesday. It's always more in depth than what the headline says, but we might have to discuss this because kind of the idea: you have these Chinese students that are coming into the country and they may be working on behalf of their Communist Party leaders, as in reporting back and spying on Americans. And that's a real threat. I mean, it happens all the time. Instances like this are a little bit less cut and dry when it comes to revoking visas. And maybe we talk about that a little bit later too. When we come back after the break, there was a moment on CNN that was like the biggest mess I think I've ever heard on broadcast. And I got to say, I've heard a lot of messes, and this was a mess. Can we play some of that audio after the break, Brad? It's so good. I got to tell you, this is modern day CNN. The Larry Kings of the world are gone, and this is what CNN has become. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry, 97.1 FM Talk.
You're going to the grocery store. Why wouldn't you want to save money? I certainly do. Ruler Foods, you can go online to rulerfoods.com, has savings on the groceries that you love. Red and white seedless grapes right now, $1.69 a pound. Save on that lean ground beef, Kroger lean ground beef. Wonderful item to stock up on at Ruler Foods. Just $3.33 a pound in a 3-pound roll. Sweet 2-pound packs of strawberries, $3.49 each. And do not miss their mix or match hot deals, 2 for $5. Choose from Kroger 24-pack water, Kroger frozen potatoes, 19 to 32 ounces, or 12-count Kroger coffee pods. Save at Ruler Foods, where you can shop smart and spend less. When you shop at Ruler Foods, you're going to save on the items you put in your grocery cart. They have the name brands you love, but those Kroger brands at Ruler Foods prices help you multiply the savings for you, and it gets you coming back again and again. If you haven't found your Ruler Foods yet, you can schedule delivery online, or you can put your zip code in at rulerfoods.com.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint by a lot, backed with our 25-year transferable warranty. Paint a house, shield a home. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, steel, aluminum, cedar, and more. We are the only coating company selected by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where all 3 episodes concentrate on unpainted brick. If you maintain or own a business with a tired-looking building, you owe it to yourself to look at Rhino Shield and our beautifully durable color schemes. Evaluations are free. We're making buildings pop and be noticed again, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks, exceeding expectations every day with our products, people, and performance. Now is the time to call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or go to 877-25rhino.com and see how honest and transparent we really are. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Have you been notified that your subsidy for Obamacare health insurance is going away? Well, you can leave now while you're still healthy and qualify for much better individual plans. Greg Hammonds at greghammonds.com has been helping people get affordable health insurance with great coverage for over 35 years. Greg offers private health insurance plans that are not on the ACA marketplace. You can pick your doctors. For most claims, you won't even pay a deductible, and they're 30 to 60% lower cost than Obamacare. One more thing, there's no tax penalty at the end of the year. Greg even has plans that are guaranteed acceptance. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg at 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan by you, not the government.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
The Trump trade agenda is moving forward. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. That from the White House after a court ruling that blocks many of the president's tariffs.
Last night, the Trump administration faced another example of judicial overreach.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the court should have no role.
The president's rationale for imposing these powerful tariffs was legally sound and grounded in common sense. President Trump correctly believes that America cannot function safely long-term if we are unable to scale advanced domestic manufacturing capacity, have our own secure critical supply chains, and our defense industrial base is dependent on foreign adversaries.
She says the administration expects to win on appeal. A 3-judge panel ruled the Emergency Economic Powers Act used by the president exceeded his authority for some tariffs. The White House says trade negotiations with multiple countries will continue while they fight the ruling. Leavitt just confirming Israel's support for a Gaza ceasefire proposal submitted by U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff.
Israel signed off on this proposal before it was sent to Hamas. I can also confirm that those discussions are continuing, and we hope that a ceasefire in Gaza will take place so we can return all of the hostages home, and that's been a priority from this administration from the beginning.
Hamas announcing earlier that it is studying the latest proposal. Meantime, Israel just authorizing 22 more Jewish settlements in the West Bank. As a manhunt continues in Louisiana for escaped inmates.
We, the FBI, are increasing our potential reward per inmate, Massey and Groves, from $10,000 to $20,000 with our partners.
FBI Special Agent in Charge Jonathan Tapp, the ATF and Crime Stoppers also boosting their rewards for the final 2 escapees still on the run. Tomorrow marks 2 weeks. It's now $50,000 rewards for each of them. America is listening to Fox News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare, and I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-790-1400. 800-790-1400. 800-790-1400. Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
What we see is what we get throughout the afternoon. Periods of showers, a couple of rumbles of thunder, but nothing to be concerned about. 60s to near 70. It's a little cool. Tonight, clouds, periods of showers, especially during the evening hours, 57. Friday, mostly sunny and nice, 75. A pop into the mid-80s and sunshine over the weekend. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Spring in St. Louis definitely has storms that come through and they ravage different areas, but we've definitely had that here recently. And Air Comfort Service wants to help you out to make sure that that AC unit that's outside of your house, this is not really something that I had ever really thought to check. But if you've got hail damage on your roof and you're getting a new roof, if you've had a lot of wind, down limbs or whatever, is that AC unit that's sitting outside of your home going to continue to function the way it's supposed to? Call Air Comfort Service, 314-513-0091. That's 314-513-0091, and have expert technicians assess the damage and give you all the information you need. You get your AC looked at immediately for an insurance claim and make sure that lingering issues don't follow you this summer. If something creeps up because it's shifted, maybe there was some damage to that unit during the storm, you need to make sure you're on it now to help have insurance make sure that they pay up. 314-513-0091, aircomfortservice.com/storm.
We're definitely going to be late to the concert. I feel like we should be there by now.
I'm just taking a little detour. I gotta fill up my gas tank, and I know this place a couple towns over where the gas is cheaper.
Are you serious? We're gonna be late for the concert because you're driving out of the way for cheaper gas? Just use Upside.
What's Upside?
Upside is the free cashback app that gets you real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait, I can get cash back just for buying the gas I need anyway?
Yes, I use it all the time, and I've made around $200. Now pull over so you can download the Upside app before we miss the concert.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TRADE25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank, PayPal, or as a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TRADE25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TRADE25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's code TRADE25.
When's the last time you gave your home's exterior a little love? Hi, it's Kim, and if your siding is cracking, it's fading, or just doesn't stand up to our St. Louis weather, it's time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design because they're experts in James Hardy siding, which is this durable, low-maintenance option, and it looks beautiful. Plus, you have customizable colors and textures, and so you can give your home a completely new look while protecting it for decades. Don't wait until the small problems turn into big ones. Visit lakesidearty.com to schedule your free consultation.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Oh yeah, this is the moment you have been waiting for.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
Annie's out. Ryan and Brad are in.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
This is the Manny Fry Show.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry. Brad, I'm telling you, this is the first time I filled in and you have a new intro. What's the story behind it? Why did you guys change the intro?
So that intro right there is the Manny Fry Show intro, and that's for whenever me and a Ryan hosts. So sometimes Ryan Wiggins and I fill in, and sometimes it's you and I. And so it's like, man, this works for everybody, so let's just throw it in there. And it's just to let the people know that Annie's on vacation. She's having a great time. I hope so. I think they're in the air right now flying, so.
Got it. Well, I got to say, I'm pretty dense. I didn't realize, okay, that Ryan would have worked for Ryan Wiggins, too. And here I am, the first hour. I said, oh, that's so nice. You had the new intro voiced for me.
Yeah.
Nope. It was for Ryan Wiggins.
We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but the best produced segments on this show are the ones that Ryan Wiggins does. He's got sounders and all sorts of stuff for the stuff he does.
Oh, yeah, that's actually great. Well, yes, an invested interest in keeping his position relevant. Yes. And he's so good at what he does, too. All right. We have the YouTube poll that is going up. It's the Epstein stuff. There's been a couple of people that come out, people that are pretty straight shooters, people that you would believe to say there's no funny business when it comes to this Epstein. It looks like everything is straightforward. It's exactly how they reported it. Why do I have such a hard time accepting that answer? So you can go to the YouTube poll now. And what's the exact question? It's
the exact question is, are you buying the official narrative on Jeffrey Epstein? It's a yes or no question. But we definitely know that you guys out there listening have thoughts and opinions. So what we want you to do is to comment and leave those in the chat whenever you come and vote so that we can read them and maybe read them on the air and kind of share some of that.
I'm not buying it.
I know why you aren't. I know why you aren't. And it makes a lot of sense to not. It's good to be skeptical. But I think the other side of that is, too, there has just been so little information that has come out, from the very beginning. There's so much suspicious circumstances surrounding it. And then there are so many big name, powerful people that are involved or at least mentioned in it. And it's just, it makes you go, something's up.
All right. So before we went to the break, I mentioned on CNN, I listened to this clip and it is just completely bush league. Maybe that's the right way to put it. This doesn't seem like network television should be acting this way. It was just, to me, community TV where you just got a bunch of people yelling at each other. And I listened to it and I thought to myself, how in the world does anyone watch this network if this is how they interact with each other? So I wanted to play for you a part of it. Now, keep in mind, this isn't even the full clip. This is just a portion of it. And I want you to know that the moment that we're going to start playing leading up to it, it was like 5 minutes of this before that moment. Kevin O'Leary was part of this panel on CNN, and they were discussing the reported settlement that Paramount offered Donald Trump when it comes to the CBS interview. So there's a lawsuit from Donald Trump. Apparently, they offered $15 million to try to get this 60 Minutes piece to lawsuit to go away. Apparently, the Trump administration is coming back at that, and they're saying, no, we want $25 million in an apology. That's where it's at. And that's where the CNN panel was talking about it, saying that apparently because there's a potential merger in the works, that Donald Trump could be holding this up, and he's using that as leverage to get more money from them. And that's the panel just went absolutely bananas. So let's go ahead and play some of this. And I you know what, before we play it, I apologize to you because it's so frustrating to listen to. All right, tell me if you get anything out of this. Let's play it.
This is gross and unseemly. We're supposed to have a free press in this country, and there is something dreadfully wrong when the president of the United States is filing nuisance lawsuits and trying to take tens of millions of dollars from private companies.
Wait a second. Wait a second. This was a word salad edit. You remember the word salad edit? That happens all, even as this network, that happens.
Wasn't that much better than
this had no merit. This claim had no merit. Wait. If this claim had no merit, we wouldn't be talking about whether it's... It has no merit.
I have a question. How do you guys constantly defend the biggest whining titty baby on the planet?
Excuse me. Did all the executives of CBS lose their jobs on 60 Minutes? Yes or no? Yes. Was it a word salad edit? Yes.
No.
Did they breach their covenant as reporters? Yes.
Who lost their job?
What covenant are you talking about?
You know, we've had
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I know. What are you talking about?
All right. I think we got a pretty good taste for that. So, one, if you listen to that and you were like, I need a break, I'm with you, because that was exhausting to try to decipher the people talking over each other. Oh, was that just so messy? That was CNN. This is the best they have to offer.
I'm glad you went with this direction in this audio clip, because as I was pulling it, I'm like, this is awful. Like, Brian asked for it, so I'll give it to him. But if I were pulling audio for it, I would not. This clip wouldn't make the cut, because I was sitting here thinking we're trying to get to Kevin O'Leary's point, which you can't really hear because it's just everybody. And it's interesting to me whenever you listen to that clip, and I hope I don't step on your point here, but it's interesting to me whenever you listen to that clip. There are a few times when somebody gets to speak, and you can hear what they're saying, and they do a good job of controlling the crowd. And that's whenever somebody attacking Donald Trump is doing it. They come out, they speak, they're like, but is this? And then everybody goes quiet. And then the conservative, or at least the less left-leaning member of the panel starts talking, and everybody dogpiles him right away, and he can't get his point out. And it's frustrating to listen to.
Here's can I give my idea of what's happening here on CNN? Because I kind of can guess. So over the last couple of months, you've had a panelist on CNN named Scott Jennings.
Yeah.
You're familiar with his work?
Oh, yes.
They let Scott Jennings answer questions. And I'm guessing because he's making points and making them look foolish, that they said the new strategy is when there's someone on the show that is a conservative that may be making a point, the defense is to talk over them. And that is how they're basically... The Scott Jennings defense is how I'm going to call it. Now, Scott has been doing fantastic work. And I got to tell you, whenever I see the clips of him on the panels on CNN, I always thought, wow, they're letting him answer. That's good news. I think that's a thing of the past. Let me point out something else, too, because when you hear people talking over each other when they're trying to make a point or they're trying to answer a question that you ask them, and all they do is interrupt, doesn't that make you not want to talk to the person? Doesn't that make you just want to ignore them and just avoid them, because nothing that'll ever come from that will be productive? And it's just not, they lose all interest intellectually. It does for me, like when that happens. Remember, I look at like Bill Maher, for example.
Yeah.
He's always been liberal, and he's had these panel discussions, and he's always let people have their say. And, give it to Bill Maher to let people have their opinions. And even though his opinion wasn't always the most researched, he always had an opinion, and he might have had a joke and made people laugh. So it might have been a little bit more impactful. And plus, it was his show, so he can control where the conversation was going.
Right.
But he always let people answer. And I found that in today's world, if you can just have discussions with people, and in the end, you really don't feel like you have to win the conversation, you can just have a conversation, that's so much more appealing, because then you're not fighting each other at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's a great point where you said you're not trying to win the conversation. You end up talking past one another, and you're not trying to learn anything new or convey anything new to the other party. You just are trying to get the gotchas whenever you're trying to win the conversation, and you miss out on so much possibility to come to a consensus, or at least come to an agreement on certain areas of things, and agree where you can agree. I mean, there will always be things out there that you don't agree on, but you got to look for those areas and at the very least understand where the other side is coming from.
And doesn't it show you, too, that when it comes to conservative versus liberal media, and there's a lot of liberal podcasts and popular liberal podcasts, too, and then you can look at conservative talk radio and conservative podcasts, things like that. Doesn't it go to show you that when people wonder why there's not more liberal entertainers that are like political, like Bill Maher, they're like, why isn't there more people? Why isn't there an equivalent to Rush Limbaugh? Why isn't there an equivalent to this and that? And they go back and they look, and they did Air America, and it stunk. It was terrible. And it was like, because you try to put a lineup of 5 shows together, and that was the best 5 you can put together, and it was horrendous talk radio.
Yeah.
So I look at that and I say, is this why there's just like no one on the liberal side that can do any of this? Because the closest they have is Joe Rogan, who's looked at as a conservative, even though he's a pretty liberal guy. And that, I mean, the liberals reject him because he has things he agrees with when it comes to conservatives, and he allows people to express their opinions freely, which liberals do not like. They don't like when other thoughts come out there like that without getting stepped over. So it's part of I don't want to write the playbook for them, is one of the biggest things that they could do to gain an audience is to actually listen what other people have to say without it turning into that.
That would be the most, best way for them to go about it. I mean, I was listening to a clip of Jake Tapper, and he was talking about how he was on a podcast, and they asked him about his son, and he's like, it was a left-leaning podcast, and the 2 hosts didn't have kids, and so they asked him about his son. His son's like 15 and plays football and likes listening to World War II history things and wants to be a cop. And where the host went to immediately, and this is what Jake Tapper said, he said, where they went to immediately was they asked me if my son was racist. That's the first spot. He's like, he's 15. He thinks about playing linebacker, playing video games in World War II. That's why they lose. It's to your point where you're talking about they are so locked into the push, the narrative, the echo chamber, that they don't even realize that there are people out there that that might be somewhat apolitical, and just because they don't have an opinion on it, you can't immediately put them in a box of, well, if they're not this, then they must be this.
Yeah. And for the longest time, the mindset was, and it probably still is a lot in these liberal circles, which is, number one, you can't question something if it's looked at as insensitive, because ultimately the feelings of that person is more important than the truth or the reality that you're trying to uncover, or whatever the topic of the conversation is. And I'm so turned off by that. It's so like, okay, you can listen to it. And I realize that there are left-leaning people that do podcasts. It's the ones that don't bring up politics are the ones that are even remotely listenable. Yeah. It's like not even close. Can we play a clip from a liberal podcast? This is Democrat activists, and they were talking about young conservative men. I want to play this clip for you, and I want to get your take on it because I want you to tell me if you think they're right or not. So I don't even know what the name of this podcast is, but it doesn't even matter, to tell you the truth. This is clip 7.
The reason why Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? It's like men want to have sex and like own women, right? Like they want to dominate everybody. And Republicans say, you get to do that. And then Democrats can't say that. So we just lost men. It's over, right? Like, what are you talking about? Like a lot of times it will be men that are liberals who will like agree with that. I'm like, dude, what are you like? What is going on? Like there's a lot of men that don't think that way, obviously. And it's just such a negative view to take on like half of the human race.
Well, I also think it's just so abundantly clear that the people who say these things don't actually spend time talking to young men. You know this because we know each other in real life, but I spend a lot of time on college campuses. And I spend a lot of time with
young men.
I love young men. I love frat guys. And in that, I've realized, like, even the ones that identify as conservative are almost always pro-choice. They're almost always pro-gay marriage. You'd be surprised at the number of them who supported Black Lives Matter. And so I feel like people just kind of lump them into this box when the truth is, again, a lot of them are with us on the issues. They're just not part of our coalition because they feel like they're not welcomed in it.
Okay. All right. So there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
So the general assumption, men just want to own women right off the bat. Not a good way to start an argument.
Yeah.
But okay. So basically her thought is, for the most part, men are with us on a lot of these cultural issues. So what's the disconnect? Okay, what do you think about what she said?
I don't think she's right on that point.
Yeah.
I don't think that most men are for the things that she talks about. What did she say? Her name, by the way, is Olivia Juliana. She's a Democrat strategist, and she was a guest. Okay. I don't know the name of the podcast, unfortunately. But,
it don't matter.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, when I was pulling the clip, sometimes it'll tell you, and it just said unknown. So, but A, she's right. You need to talk to people, and you need to figure out where they are. But B, where she's wrong is assuming that everybody's where they are on the issues. They're not. The country is not. I think the election in November proved that the country is not where they are. Now, they may not be full where, Donald Trump MAGA is, but they are definitely not where Kamala Harris was in the Democrat Party, and they weren't buying that, especially the young men. They're right. You can't demonize the group of people based on their sex. That's bigotry. You can't do that. Or you can do that and just be happy losing elections. But if you talk to them and you want to regain and you want to win, you may need to look at your policies that they don't agree on and back out of it. Back off of some of these things. But I don't know if they can. The Democrats are so invested in those policies. It's going to be really hard for them to talk, to listen to the other side, and to change what they're thinking about these different areas.
Yeah, let me mention this. Was this the ultimate strategy where the Democrats went wrong? And you mentioned bigotry there. Is it possible they said, well, you can't have bigotry if there's no such thing as man or woman? So we're just going to eliminate the definition, and we're just going to say everything's all the same. There's no such thing as a biological man or woman. It's how you feel. Thus, bigotry can't exist.
I lost you there, Ryan. Ryan's on a remote connection, so we're going to get him connected back again. And
yeah, I got it. I'm sorry.
You got it. All right. So go ahead and finish your thought then.
So essentially, is that their thought bigotry can't exist with man or women, or man or woman doesn't exist either, because that's the way they're redefining it. Is it possible? Because you mentioned there's all this bigotry that's going on. Let's just eliminate that variable by eliminating man and woman. Is that possible?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. There's just such an emphasis on the left on that. I talked about a little bit earlier in the show, the oppressor versus the oppressed narrative. Mm-hmm. That there's, in every situation, if somebody is succeeding, they're succeeding because they're oppressing somebody else. Yeah. And to your point, I mean, even in that, you're talking about they don't want any differences between men and women. They don't want any differences in people in economic status. They don't want any differences. They want everybody to be the exact same. Mm-hmm. And so I think instead of it being a strategy, I think part of it is just the natural outcome of their line of thinking. They will eventually get there because that's where the logic takes you.
We should have saved that clip for our next guest because we have a Republican strategist coming up. We should ask what she thinks of the Democratic strategist viewpoint on these things. So we'll have Cassie coming up after the break. And I got to tell you that we still have a whole lot of time to go in the show. And if you haven't voted on the YouTube poll, you better go do that now because we are going to read some results here coming up towards the end of the show. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry. Don't go anywhere. 97.1 FM Talk.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Fry Show.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-700-6898. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-700-6898 or biglou.com.
Homeowners, spring is here and there's no better time to sell your St. Louis home, but the agent you choose matters. Who should you call? My friend and trusted realtor, Gloria Liu, your home sold guaranteed realty. Hey, it's Mark Cox. Here's why Gloria should be your first call. While the average realtor puts a sign in your yard and hopes it sells, Gloria will guarantee to sell your home for 100% of market value, or Gloria will pay you the difference. In this market, you don't want to risk working with someone who doesn't have the guarantees, buyers, or experience to help you sell within your time frame and for the most money. Many realtors will overprice your home to get your business, which can lead to your home sitting on the market with little or no offers and price reductions. If you want to sell your home for 100% of market value, or Gloria will pay you the difference, call Gloria Liu today at 314-325-6888 or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Save now with 2024 pricing and Carrier Cool Cash rebates up to $1,700 on a new HVAC system. For details, visit aircomfortservice.com.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show.
Brad, who picked this song?
Oh, that would be Ethan. Ethan does the music, and he's like, he was asking me, he's like, what should I pick? I was like, man, dealer's choice, man, do your thing.
So he picked basically what was on his iPod Shuffle.
Got a little ABBA. Hey, listen.
In 2005,
yeah. He comes into the studio and he comes into the station dancing to this song.
How? Does he have a boombox on his shoulder?
No, I think he's got earbuds in. I can't hear the song. I just watch him dance. I'm like, oh, that's definitely Dancing Queen.
So you just assume Dancing Queen?
Yes.
And that's his jam?
Yeah,
okay.
Apparently. He's not here to defend himself, so we will say yes.
So Cassie Smedile she's not here yet, but hopefully we'll be able to grab her, right? The Republican strategist.
Yeah, she will be here shortly.
All right. I look at I hope so too, but some of the entertainers that are putting out podcasts anymore, they become more and more popular. And there's one super liberal guy, and his name's Destiny. Are you familiar with him?
I am super familiar with Destiny.
I don't know much about him. Maybe you could inform me a little bit. So with that, why is he so popular? Like, how did he get popular? Because all I know is that once in a while, YouTube will put these clips for me to watch, like shorts. And he seems to be like the biggest thing in the liberal movement, at least commentator wise.
So the reason he has so much popularity is he actually is a video game streamer as well as an intellectual. He's a good debater. If you listen to him, he's actually pretty good at debating, even though he's wrong.
Wait, you called him an intellectual?
Yes.
Is that the proper term, or is that what he prefers to be called?
That might be what he prefers to be called. I mean, he is definitely an ideologue, and but he's not completely uninformed. He's not just spouting off talking points and stuff like that. So he's good at debating, but he's just, I don't know, like you said, he comes across your screen and I'm like, I can't watch this guy. And it has a lot to do with his attitude and his smugness. So you get the impression whenever you listen to him talk that he thinks he knows better than you. He thinks that he's smarter than you, and he thinks that you deserve his, I don't know, ire. You know, he definitely talks down to people that disagrees with him and stuff like that. And he has this sense about his arrogance sense about him that is very, very off-putting. So like when those videos come on, it's hard for me not to watch him because, you know, A, you love to hate the guy because he's such a jerk. But B, you also like to see whenever he goes up against somebody who is his match or his superior, and you like to see him get his comeuppance.
You know, most of the videos I see when that happens, he gets very uneasy. Like he gets very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Is that the best the left has to offer right now when it comes to commentary? Is he like really the top of the top?
I mean,
or is that just like, maybe it's just I have the wrong impression because YouTube recommends him so often.
I think a little bit is YouTube. He is the top on YouTube. I think it's him and Hassan Piker are the two that are the ones that have the most influence on the streaming platforms from Twitch to YouTube and stuff like that. So they would be the people that are going after the younger crowd. And again, both of them are video game streamers who are also podcasters, who also like to discuss politics and have left-leaning things. They are the best in that realm. I don't know that they're the best overall that the left has, but it's hard. I struggle to come up with somebody that is like really good and really solid that they have at this point.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me too is that you have people like Don Lemon, who former CNN had a large audience. Well, relatively speaking, not large for what would be a cable news network, but had an audience. And now he's trying to do the independent thing and no one pays attention to him. But these people that, like, for me, I don't know anything about them, but I see them promoted all the time. I don't quite get that, honestly. It's a weird world, I guess, when it comes to some of that. Yeah. All right. So I think we're ready to go. Here. Cassie Smedile, Republican strategist. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So we were just talking about it's so funny. We played a clip from a liberal podcast, a video cast, and it was a Democratic strategist talking about how Republican men want to own women. And most Republican, or at least conservative young men, are closeted when it comes to their views on social issues. And I don't know, should we play that clip again? I would love to hear a Republican strategist view of a Democrat strategist. Brad's going to bring this up real quick because this could be pretty fun. Brad, can we play that?
Well, the reason why Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? So like men want to have sex and like own women, right? Like they want to dominate everybody. And Republicans say, you get to do that. And then Democrats can't say that. So we just lost men, it's over, right? Like, what are you talking about? Like a lot of times it will be men that are liberals who will like agree with that. I'm like, dude, what is going on? Like there's a lot of men that don't think that way, obviously. And it's just such a negative view to take on like half of the human race.
Well, I also think it's just so abundantly clear that the people who say these things don't actually spend time talking to young men. You know this because we know each other in real life, but I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and I spend a lot of time with
young men.
I love young men. I love frat guys, and in that I realized like even the ones that identify as conservative are almost always pro-choice. They're almost always pro-gay marriage. You'd be surprised at the number of them who supported Black Lives Matter. And so I feel like people just kind of lump them into this box when the truth is again, a lot of them are with us on the issues. They're just not part of our coalition because they feel like they're not welcomed in it.
All right, so we'll kind of cut it there. So the Democratic strategists are saying that young conservative men are for abortion, love Black Lives Matter, and can't get enough gay marriage topics and things like that, culturally speaking. So what do you think about strategy?
Wow, that was really a treat to listen to. I'm sorry, guys. Can you hear me okay?
We can,
Yes,
yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry, I thought I lost you. That was a treat to listen to. Let me tell you this. Did you hear this week, I'm sure you've talked about it, that the Democrats announced that they're going to spend $20 on a syntax study to study the verbiage that young men use, and they think that is what is ailing them. That's what's going to help change minds. And I hope they spend that money. That will be money well spent for them. To any Democrat strategist listening, go spend $20 million on that. I will enjoy my son continuing to win elections. Because here's the thing. It is the Democrat policies that are the problem. It's the messengers and the message that are the problem. They need to clean the slate. I don't know who they replace their people with, but it's not Tim Walz. It's not AOC. It's certainly not Kamala Harris. And every time Joe Biden gets rolled out, that's a problem for them too. But let me tell you, there was also somebody yesterday, I can't keep up, who was saying that Republican women, that's making the same argument, that Republican women are the ones that are closeted liberals. I don't, as a Republican woman, I have never felt that Republicans were going to take away my right to vote. I believe it was Kira Sedgwick who was saying this, the Hollywood actress. Take away my right to vote, take away any of my rights. But here's what I do know for sure. Men and women, especially millennial Gen Z, that at our core, we want to have a good job that pays the bills and allows us to live a life comfortably. We do want to get married, have children, and to be able to raise those children in safe communities. All the same things that were the image of the American dream for our parents and grandparents, that hasn't changed. What has changed is our ability to achieve those things, because it's too expensive to get a house, to pay for groceries, to put gas in your car. Those were the things that we voted for change last fall. It's too expensive to raise kids. And oh, by the way, the left is telling us that you can just put all of that off, that that's not going to make you happy. And as a mom to 2 young kids, I can tell you I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. I'm the most tired I've ever been, but I'm the happiest I've ever been. One of the most fulfilling things you can do is to aspire to have a family and to have children if that's what you choose. But my point being that every time that they say that, try and put us in a box and say that it's about social issues or it's about the syntax and the way you talk, and they do a TikTok dance and they put 4-letter words into tweets, it's just them missing the mark. The reason the left has lost the plot, the reason the left is losing the young person's vote is because they have gotten so far removed from the basics, which is to allow people or to empower people by not over-regulating, over-taxing, empower people to be able to work hard and achieve their American dream and take great pride in that. And that message does not exist in today's Democrat Party. But Donald Trump really championed that idea for people, and that's why you saw people giving him a chance and giving Republicans a chance.
I know. Wasn't it great, all the leading up to this last election, all the things that Kamala Harris and I think about the peak of publicity for the Democrat Party, which was we need to get Michigan's governor to get down on her knees so we can give her communion and insult all the Catholics. All right, real quick, I want to make sure we get to talk about this too. The big, beautiful bill that's out there. There's a lot of takes on this, and Republicans are thinking to themselves right now, why do we need to add more trillions on? And there's been a lot of compromise too, trying to figure out the way to get something like this passed. What are your takes on it?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, I have to say, I worked on Capitol Hill for 10 years, most of those years in the minority, where either Republicans didn't have control of Congress, or it was when Barack Obama was in the White House. It's a really sad place to be when you're in the minority. So when you win and you have the opportunity to actually get some of your policies enacted into law, you need to take that bull by the horns and do it. And unfortunately, what we saw is when Democrats were in the majority, they did that, and they put us trillions of dollars in debt. Republicans played their part too, but what we saw, particularly during the Obama administration these last 4 years, is $6 trillion in green new scams disguised as an infrastructure bill. They did that. And we reaped the consequences of that with our gas prices, grocery bills, and generally feeling like our lives were being robbed from us. And so Republicans are trying to undo so much of that. And of course, President Trump has done a lot with his executive orders, but we need those to be permanent changes. And in this big, beautiful bill, to be clear, it's not the budget. The budget is when you have more maneuverability to get so much of this stuff really codified into law. But the big, beautiful bill is a good start. But you have to acknowledge the reality that they couldn't do too much because you'd need 60 votes in the Senate if you got too far astray on it. So this is what they were able to do within the context of this legislation. But one thing they also did, in addition to, we can talk about the specifics of it, of making permanent the Trump tax cuts and no taxes on tips, those things that are good promises made and promises kept. But do y'all remember when we had Republican speakers of the House who used to say, all right, fine, if I can't get the votes from Republicans, I'm going to go to Nancy Pelosi and I'm going to give her some concessions and get her to get me Democrat votes. And that really made for terrible bills. Speaker Johnson, with President Trump as the closer, did not have to do that this time. They went in and they said, we know this isn't perfect. We're going to keep working at it. We know they're going to introduce more legislation. We know the appropriations process is going to be a place where a lot of this is going to get worked out for some of these promises that we really want codified into law. But it is a good thing that Republicans held together. That's not something we've been really good at doing in the past. And by the way, what I will say, I would love to be a Puritan. I would love to have a clean bill that reduces the deficit, that doesn't have any extras in it, that none of us like, all of that. But what I would love more is these people that are holdouts for sport and they love to cheer and go find a microphone about it, but then they're not willing to get their hands dirty and do the work. We need more of that and less of the people that just want to decry progress. So I know that's coming from a place of someone who worked a lot of long nights on Capitol Hill with great frustration, but I applaud that there's progress. And if we have the majority, yes, we got to be doing more, but this is, if you believe it or not, this is progress. This is stuff in the right direction. And there's no illusions that it's perfect, but we're just getting started. And this is why it's important to get even more Republicans elected if we really want to see change effected. It takes a long time to turn around the Titanic.
Cassie, this is Brad. I wanted to ask you a real quick question here about the way things are defined as deficit spending and how if you cut taxes and how that math works out on Capitol Hill, how that counts as deficit. Can you explain that or clear that up?
Well, it's clear as mud, isn't it? It's they say girl math. It's like Washington math. $1 in gets $2 out, right? But
right.
So I truly cannot in a clear, concise way. But what I can tell you is that there's trying with pay-fors, right, to pay for something. And a lot of times what they use is they say, well, this thing that's going to take effect over the course of 2 years, but we're going to pay for it over the course of 10 years. So therefore, it's not going to add to the deficit or it's going to net out after 2 years. So that's how you get into this deficit term, I guess you can say. But the other piece that you have to play with here in terms of the spending is, of course, mandatory and discretionary. Mm-hmm. And that's a big piece. I'm sure you guys have seen the clip, the previewing of Elon doing his CBS interview for this weekend, where he was upset about a lot of the Doge cuts not being included. Well, as Stephen Miller outlined in a recent, Truth Social or tweet or whatever they're calling it today, that so much of that is because this bill could not that Doge is so much of the discretionary spending. This bill is dealing with mandatory spending, and that's really, really hard to cut. So they had to get creative and figure out other ways without interrupting the rules of the Senate, which would then push this bill to a 60-vote threshold. So add that on top of it. Yeah. So they were really threading a needle into a very small hole here. But again, the appropriations process, I know the Senate's going to get the big, beautiful bill now, and we're going to hear about it for the next 4 weeks or so. But where we really want to say, go do your job, is the appropriations process. That's where you can really get in and affect some change. And Congress has not done a proper appropriations process in more than a decade. They just keep rolling. Remember the omnibus bills, the continuing resolutions, the Christmas trees at the end of the year. That's because they're not able to get the appropriations all done throughout the year. So that's really where they should be, putting their heads down and pen to paper and getting to work. And I hope they're able to do that.
Wow. So, Cassie, you're VP of Communications at COIN. If people wanted to look you up, where can they go?
Yeah, well, I hope you guys will go to COIN.com. Check us out. Get on the wait list for our credit card. It's a values-aligned spending movement. Make your money match your values. Don't let your money go to these big woke credit card corporations that are doing things with it that you don't agree with and that detract from you achieving your American dream. Right now we're on a wait list, but we want you to join it and find out all the latest and greatest that's happening there. And then we'll let you know as soon as you're able to apply.
Right. Cassie Smedile, and your Republican strategist, VP of Communications at COIN, COIGN, at CMS, or CM Smedile probably would be the better way to put it there, on social media. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks. Great to be with you guys. And as a Kansas Citian, so fellow Missourian, it's always fun to feel like I'm just talking with friends and neighbors.
That's what it is, just on the other side of the state, but still, Missouri's Missouri.
Right.
Cassie, thank you so much.
That's right. Thank you. Bye.
All right. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Would you like that answer? The one trying to understand all that?
Well, the thing about it is she's absolutely right. It's so convoluted and complicated, and then I think that makes part of your job as a lawmaker, and specifically for the Republicans, you get this funky Capitol Hill math and the way that they say, oh, well, this is a deficit now and this is not deficit spending, and then now you're going to raise all this up. You're trying to cut taxes, which apparently counts toward the deficit.
Yeah.
Which everybody be like, no, yeah, cut my taxes. I definitely want you to cut my taxes. I don't want any more taxes. And then you give this message to the other side. It's like, hey, look, they're deficit spending. They're raising the debt. They're doing all these other things. And what you're essentially doing is not taking money out of the pockets of everyday Americans. So it's so incredibly difficult to explain, and I appreciate the complicated nature of it.
The appreciation of the complicated nature sounds like an opening line to a book I won't read. It sounds so complicated.
I want to write that book and send it to you.
Well, Wiggins is the writer, so maybe we should save it for him. That would be his thing. All right. Thank you for that. If you want to go leave a comment on the YouTube page, go do that. We'll look at those comments. And coming up, we got, you know what? I want to play a clip from Stephen A. I want to know what you think of Stephen A. Smith. And after we play this, I think you'll kind of get an idea a little bit more of where I'm coming from. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry, 97.1 FM Talk.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
ArtisticDecks.net. If you have been dreaming about expanding the living space on the back of your house, maybe right now it's a patio, or if in our instance, when we went to replace our deck, we had an old, dingy deck that swayed back and forth when you walked on it. Not good. You need something to replace it, but you want to go to a place that's affordable. You can call them as well at 314-280-0821. That's 314-280-0821. Artistic Decks can make your dream deck affordable. With decades of experience, they can offer you free design, consultation. They can give you a 500 square foot plus discount if you got a nice large deck that you're going to put on your home. They will give you a little break on that. You can also, with a very small down payment, get you on the schedule right now. You can have that deck of your dreams on your house this summer. 314-280-0821. 314-280-0821. ArtisticDecks.net.
Here's the hard truth. Every 6 years, your dollar loses half its buying power. That means a $100,000 savings account today could feel like $50,000 by 2031. And you see it every time you fill up your tank, buy groceries, or pay the bills. Prices are up. Your dollar is down. But there's a simple way to protect the value of your savings with something real, something proven. Gold. An asset that holds its value over time. That's why I trust Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to protect your savings with physical gold or silver. No high-pressure sales, no call centers. Just honest guidance, one-on-one support, and transparent pricing. And right now, when you open a qualified account, Noble Gold will send you a free 10-ounce silver American flag bar as a thank you. Head to noblegoldinvestments.com today to learn more. That's noblegoldinvestments.com.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
The Diamond Shop graduation sale. All watches are 20% off, even Movado. Men's jewelry is 40% off. 40% off Pirelli G and gold fashion jewelry. Everything else is 30% off. The Diamond Shop.
Mizzou football is here to stay. After an undefeated home season and a second straight 10-win year, the Tigers are looking for more in 2025.
Eli and the boys have done it again.
With a top 10 transfer portal class and a strong home schedule highlighted by Kansas, Alabama, South Carolina, and Texas A&M, you don't want to miss out. Get your spot in line by joining the season ticket waitlist at mutigers.com/FB waitlist. MIZ.
Today's YouTube live chat poll. Are you buying the official narrative on Jeffrey Epstein? It's a yes or no question, but it is an absolutely loaded question. We want to know what your thoughts are. We want to know why you voted the way you voted. So jump on Annie's YouTube page, youtube.com/AnnieFrey, Frey, and vote in the poll. And then once you vote in the poll, leave us a comment telling us why you voted the way you voted. Do you believe Kash Patel and Dan Bongino? They're the latest to come out to say, hey, look, it was the way it is. So leave us a comment in the poll. Tell us why you voted the way you voted. And the time right now is 1:50. The time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
97.1 FM Talk is proud to partner with Guns N' Hoses to support St. Louis area tornado victims, and you can too. Bring non-perishable food items, cleaning products, and other goods to Dave Munganaz's St. Louis Honda between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show.
The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
And welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry. We have the YouTube poll going, and I was looking at some of the comments that were coming in here. Some people are saying they're not done looking at all the documents when it comes to the Epstein stuff. So who knows? Maybe their opinions may change on that. But has your opinion changed on it? So we'll get that poll answer in about an hour from now. So are you buying the official narrative on Jeffrey Epstein? That is the poll question. So talking about the Republican strategist we just had on, I'm not sold on this bill. I really am not sold on it still. I understand that there's ways to look at this and spin it in a way where it is more favorable, as in it's not a bad thing. I just feel like you have the opportunity to make this into a better situation. And I know that you don't want to basically shut down the government over something like this. I understand that. But man, I just don't want to keep adding more and more things onto the debt over even the course of a decade. It's too much. We've already had our fair share of add-on to the debt. We got to stop it at some point, and why not start now? So I think people are commenting on that too. You can go to the YouTube page and comment on it. Brad, what do you think of Stephen A. Smith?
Are we talking about Stephen A. Smith, the sports commentator, or Stephen A. Smith, the political commentator?
What about Stephen A. Smith, the soap opera actor?
I don't know that one.
You don't know? He's what is it? I forget which soap opera he's on, but he has a reoccurring role.
Oh, really?
Over like the past decade. Like they would bring his character out a couple times a year. And, I'll be here in the newsroom. I work in Detroit now. And they'll have all the TVs on, and all the network television shows have the, soap operas during the day. And once in a while, you'll look up and there's Stephen A. Smith on the soap opera, and you'll say, "What is he doing there?" So apparently, his character's a hitman for the mafia, and they bring him in to take characters out.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay,
How awesome is that?
That's like self-aware of those soap operas.
I love it though. Like if you can pick a character for yourself on a soap opera, how would you like to just come in once in a while to off someone? That's awesome.
Vicky on our chat says it's General Hospital is the one that he's on. That's amazing.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge Stephen A. Smith fan, but I really don't like his sports takes. I don't think he's all that great at that, but he's popular and he makes money and he's got a podcast. So, okay, more power to him. It's interesting to watch him commentate on politics because he has such he's back and forth on it. Like sometimes you're like, oh man, this guy he's got some right leaning things, and then other times he's like very left leaning. But I think one of the best things about his political commentary is very clear eyed on what is going wrong and what isn't going right for the Democrat Party.
That's the right way to put it, and that's someone you can actually have a conversation with. He's the type of guy you can look at it and say he's got strong opinions, but you can actually talk to him. Here is, let's see, Stephen A. Smith was discussing the new Tapper book regarding former President Joe Biden. Can we play clip number 8?
There is no way to get around what I'm about to say. When you consider this book Original Sin, and what the members of the Biden administration, along with other people in the political apparatus that is the Democratic Party, when you could take into consideration what several folks, if not many, were willing to do to conceal the cognitive decline that President Biden was enduring, nobody comes out looking better than Donald Trump and the MAGA right. Because the things that they were saying, the things that they were accusing the left of, the things that they were accusing legacy media of, whether it's true or not, they look right. They look like they were on point.
They were. I mean, there's no other way to put it. They were 100%. There's no way around it. They were right. And they continue to be right about this sort of thing. I think the Tappers of the world that put the book out and they're trying to go back and revise as if they weren't part of the problem to begin with is laughable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that after the election, they just woke up and realized that, oh, I can't believe I've been deceived. No, they were one of the active participants in deceiving, much like Stephen A. Smith pointed out. What do you think of his take there? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being he's right on, 1 being way off, where do you think he's at?
Oh, he's an absolute 10 on that take.
He's a 10.
Yeah, he's right. He said and basically what he's saying is if they lied about this, what Republicans say is if they lied about that, which is obvious, what else are they lying about? We were right on this, and they told you were crazy for believing it. What else are they lying about? So yeah.
And I've been saying it for a long time with Joe Biden. You can tell it was just not there. And even going into that last election too, I remember saying, I don't even think he was going to make it through the first term. And you know what? Technically speaking, I don't think he did. Someone else was running the government, and it wasn't him. I think that's pretty clear. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Andy Fry. Don't go anywhere. 97.1 FM Talk.
Stewart's American Mortgage and the Bagel Loan, 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. When you are looking to buy a home, there are things you can do to become a competitive buyer. And the smartest thing you can do is right now, make that initial phone call or send that initial text message to my friend Stewie and talk to him about a bagel loan. The bagel loan is going to position you greatly for the opportunity to be a very competitive buyer. You're going to pay $0 in closing costs. That's going to save money for you, put money in your pocket that you can reinvest into putting it into your offer on the home or maybe improving the home yourself and not having to ask for concessions. When you get pre-approved with Stewie, you can then generate your own pre-approval letters on his website so that you don't have to go through a middleman to take care of that. And he can close in less than 2 weeks. You want to be a competitive buyer and get the best deal for yourself? Well, it's called the Bagel Loan, and it's only at Stewart's American Mortgage. 314-324-4440. 314-324-4440. Google the Bagel Loan, NMLS number 226715.
If it's time for new windows, there's only one place to call. That is Window World. Mark Cox here. Call my friends at Window World at 314-993-1800 for your free estimate today. If you have any questions, they'll be glad to send someone out to explain all of it to you. You can even schedule right online at windowworldstl.com. You know, there's a lot of high-interest financing out there, but here's what Window World's doing. Right now, they're offering 18 up to 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. You can't beat that. You also get a lifetime warranty that covers all of the parts, the glass breakage, and labor. Who else stands behind their product like that? Over half the appointments Window World will set this year are from previous customers or referrals from those customers. That is a testimony to their customer service, their quality, and their commitment to creating loyal customers. That's what you get with Window World. Call them at 314-993-1800, windowworldstl.com.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-511-3535. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider, 800-511-3535. That's 800-511-3535. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with, call Big Lou at 800-511-3535.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
The White House blames activist judges. Lisa Brady, Fox News, pointing to last night's ruling blocking many of the president's tariffs as another example.
The administration has already filed an emergency motion for a stay pending appeal and an immediate administrative stay to strike down this egregious decision. But ultimately, the Supreme Court must put an end to this for the sake of our Constitution and our country.
White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt says the president acted legally when he used an Emergency Powers Act for tariffs. A federal judge, a federal trade court, that is, disagrees with a 3-judge panel ruling the president exceeded his authority with measures including reciprocal tariffs on many countries.
Another federal judge here in Washington, D.C. blocked some of the executive orders related to tariffs and China that President Trump signed around Liberation Day. And so now those are on hold, too.
Fox's Peter Ducey at the White House, which says it expects to win on appeal and that the trade talks will continue in the meantime. A short time ago in Israel,
sirens are sounding across the entirety of central Israel. You can hear behind me, and looking off in the distance, people are running across the street. They're looking for any sort of shelter that they can get.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Israel later confirming a missile fired by Houthi rebels in Yemen was intercepted. The Iran-backed Houthis continuing attacks on Israel in support of Hamas, despite an agreement with the U.S. to stop attacking ships in the region. The White House says Israel signed off on a new ceasefire and hostage release proposal before the plan from U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff was submitted to Hamas, which says it's studying the proposal. The State Department declining to speculate on how many visas will be revoked from Chinese students after Secretary of State Rubio announced they would start aggressively revoking visas. A spokesperson says the U.S. won't tolerate exploitation of American universities by the Chinese Communist Party. America is listening to Fox News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare, and I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-790-1400. 800-790-1400. 800-790-1400.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
What we see is what we get throughout the afternoon. Periods of showers, a couple of rumbles of thunder, but nothing to be concerned about. 60s to near 70. It's a little cool. Tonight, clouds, periods of showers, especially during the evening hours, 57. Friday, mostly sunny and nice, 75. A pop into the mid-80s and sunshine over the weekend. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Infinite Vitality, the premier medical spa. I'm learning so much about myself having utilized their services. No secret, I'm 41 and I've had 4 kids. And as I have aged, I am realizing with each passing year that I am not living the same kind of life that I did before. My vitality, I'm getting it back with Infinite Vitality in Glen Carbon. I am working with them on hormone replacement. I'm working with them in order to make sure that my hormones are balanced. I'm getting real factual scientific information about me to help me where it really counts. If you are looking for medical weight loss, hormone replacement, IV therapy, I went and did an immune booster IV the other day and it changed the course of my day, or supplementation, you need Infinite Vitality. Go see the amazing people there and let me know what you've tried and what your experience is. I've loved everything that I've experienced so far, men and women alike. 618-486-1888, 618-486-1888, infinite-vitality.com.
Lifestyles Unlimited member Lisa on how our educators and mentors share their knowledge.
The whole Lifestyles Unlimited team is just wonderful, and all the people in it is basically copying what I do so you could be successful.
Lifestyles Unlimited. Over 33 years teaching the real estate retirement roadmap. Text the word radio to 88007. That's radio to 88007. Join for just $297 and save 60%. Lifestyles Unlimited. Text radio to 88007.
Surprise! Surprise! You know, surprise parties, they can be fun, right? Well, financial surprises, not so much, especially when you're retired, like finding out you owe more in taxes than you thought you would, or having to go back to work to make ends meet. Maybe you think you'll be okay, but why not double check just to be sure? Call Marvin Mitchell at Compass Retirement Solutions and schedule a retirement double check. Marvin and his team have been helping families plan for retirement for more than 15 years. Call 314-373-1598 to schedule your retirement double check with Marvin Mitchell at Compass Retirement Solutions. That's 314-373-1598. Don't let a financial surprise derail your retirement dreams. Give Marvin and the team a call, 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services, investments, and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and in Illinois.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Oh yeah, here's the moment you have been waiting for.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
Andy's out. Ryan and Brad are in.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
This is the Manny Fry Show.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Andy Fry. Happy to be with you here. And I think Ethan, is he going to join us for this segment? That'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, Ethan's going to come in here in just a second. So we'll get him in here.
I don't care what you do and how much publicity you get. There's no way I'm ever going to watch the WNBA.
What do you got against the WNBA?
There is nothing that's going to get me to watch the league. Here's the thing. If you were to put a tier list of sports together, where would it rank? So when it comes to just in general audience-wise, is it basically NFL? Then next would be Major League Baseball. Then is it NBA?
I would think NBA beats out NHL.
And then NASCAR. Then NHL. Then Major League Soccer. And then
is this viewership or is this your tier list?
This is just, I think, in general, fandom and viewership. So you go down the list. I don't know how far you have to go down before I'm like, I guess I'm bored. I'll watch a WNBA game. It's just not going to happen. And I feel like a lot of it is them just trying to force it on you. Like, you have to like this because it's a women league. And if you don't, you hate women. I think that's what they're trying to play on you. And I'm not buying it.
Can I ask you a question? Is it the W part of it that makes it the worst part? Or is it like, is it women's sports in general? Or is it just that league in particular that you don't want to watch?
I think I gave up on pretty much every sport some time ago. So it's kind of, most of everything has lost the ability to grab my time anymore. But outside of it, I just don't know how you enjoy it more than like even college sports. I feel like I can go and watch college athletics and get more enjoyment than watching the WNBA any day of the week. And so now when you add to the tier list, now WNBA is not even in like the top 15. So I'm not going to commit time into it. And it gets way too much publicity for the amount of time I think people care about it. But I think they have this such artificial fandom because of Caitlin Clark and the phenomenon that she is. She's like propelling the league into new heights, that people know her name and they know the league because of it. So now you have to just like, okay, now you have to be a fan or you're looked at as anti-women. And I just don't want to play into that trap.
Ethan, what are your thoughts on the WNBA?
The WNBA is a league that is, I mean, it piggybacks off of the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, without having the official numbers in front of me, it is a league that, if it wasn't for the NBA, wouldn't survive. I mean, its numbers tend to be in the negative, I'm pretty sure, as far as there is no profit towards the league. Now, I hope, I hope that it can start building some success. It's good to the WNBA having success and having people in seats is not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
I would agree.
And hopefully that can continue to grow. And it has been it has been fun watching people get into Caitlin Clark and there be a little bit of excitement about it. And it is a little bit sad. It's a little bit frustrating it being turned into this race thing where people are start to make this wild accusation that people are only beginning to like the WNBA because the biggest name in it right now is white. I think that is so silly.
Well,
I think it's so silly.
Well, this is basically what I wanted to get into when it came to the whole topic. One, I don't know if it's so much the popularity of the WNBA as the popularity of Caitlin Clark that people are attracted to the sport. And number two, one of the more recent articles is there's an Indiana senator by the name of Jim Banks. I know Jim Banks. I like Jim Banks. Remember, I lived in Indiana for a while. He was my congressman, so he came into our radio station all the time. We'd interview him, and he would just sit in my office, and we'd chat before he'd go on the air, and very, very nice guy. So his latest thing is that, okay, there was an investigation into Angel Reese's comments. She was playing in Indianapolis against the Fever, and Angel Reese said that someone in the audience said something racist to her, yelled something at her. So they looked at it. And you're talking about with Caitlin Clark, there's a million cameras and witnesses and video and broadcast. They reviewed everything and they found out, no, there's zero evidence of this. So now Senator Jim Banks says, I want an apology because you tried to drum up this race war against our home team because you don't like her. So you tried to make this into a racial thing. So I look at it like this. Is the WNBA just flat out racist in the sense that they will reject their biggest star because of the color of her skin? And it seems like the players, and Angel Reese being probably the most vocal one, don't like the attention is going to her because of her skin color. I find that as a valid argument. Now, Ethan, you make it sound like that's not a valid argument.
Like what? Which part specifically is not a valid argument?
The fact that there is this racial undertone to the WNBA right now because of Caitlin Clark being white and the rest of the league rejecting that because of the sport.
My argument is that it feels like there is. I'm not saying that there isn't that. I'm saying that it's sad that it feels like the pushback is that. That's what I'm saying. So I think we agree on this. I think we're seeing this in the same light. If you want to break it down into the simplest of reasons as to why people like Caitlin Clark, why is it? It's because she does things that other girls in the league can't do. Nobody else is pulling up from the logo and draining threes. The WNBA cannot rely on the athleticism that the NBA has, which is what brings people in. The speed that it is played with, the physicality, the intensity, the dunking is a big part of it. The finesse aspect of it is a whole new level compared to the WNBA. People like the plays that make them go ooh and ah. And the WNBA doesn't have that until you bring in Caitlin Clark that says, hey, I'm going to shoot it from right here, and then she does it and she makes it. They need more of that. And breaking it down from the simplest of okay, what makes it tick? What makes people say, oh, I want to watch that? It's that kind of stuff. And until her, there really wasn't a lot of that. It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with what do people want? And are you providing that product? Caitlin Clark is providing that product. It has nothing to do with race.
It's an exciting brand of basketball. It's I was thinking about this whenever you first, Ryan, when you were talking about your tier list. And I used to like to watch the United States women's national team play soccer in the World Cup. I thought that was fun to watch. And it was because it was an exciting brand of soccer. And it's because
or hockey.
Hockey. Yeah, I like to watch exciting things. And the WNBA, it's basketball. I'm not a huge basketball fan. About the only basketball I watch is March Madness, and that's because March Madness is, for whatever reason, March Madness captures that energy. It's the excitement, and I think Ethan's spot on with what he was saying. People didn't want to watch the WNBA because what they had wasn't exciting basketball, and Caitlin Clark brings an X factor to it and makes people go, what is she going to do next?
Yes, exactly.
So let's look at the comments from U.S. Senator out of Indiana, Jim Banks, essentially saying that, hey, you owe these fans an apology, Angel Reese. You're saying something that wasn't true, and you're trying to paint Indianapolis and the fans of this club as racist because you claim they were yelling things at you when really that was clearly not the case. And they're trying to bring race into it because of it. That's part of it. They're trying to use this as a way because they don't like the person that's on the court that they're playing against. Now, if I were someone that was high up in the league and this was the WNBA and I was like the commissioner, I would be messaging her team is the Chicago Sky.
Yes.
I would be like, you got to compel her to cut this out, number one, because you have your league to protect at this point. Your star player is the only reason why people are watching this league, and you can't go out there and accuse her fans and her and, kind of being racist at the same time. You can't do that.
Yeah, I do think, and to your point, is the WNBA racist? I don't know that the league is racist. I do think that there are racists in the league, if that makes sense. And I think it's a lot of I don't know that Angel Reese is racist. I know that she doesn't like Caitlin Clark. I know that there's a huge amount of jealousy out there for her. And you would see her do the interviews where she goes, people aren't just coming to watch her. They want to see me play. And it's people watch you for a different reason. They want to see the me bounds.
So here's a question: Is that rivalry? We've discussed several things regarding Caitlin Clark and the opposition and this disliking, which seems to be because of her skin color. Is that negative for the league? Is the publicity that comes from the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark rivalry, is that bad for the league?
It's interesting you say that because I feel like before that incident, they would have said, no, this is good for the league. But I think after this incident, they might be saying, boy, maybe not all publicity is good publicity because this does not make us look good.
I disagree. I mean, there's been, and the reason I say that is because it feels like ever since the beginning of that Caitlin Clark Angel Reese rivalry, even back to when they were in college and there was There was the first big blow up was when Angel Reese was at LSU and Clark was at Iowa, and they played in the Elite Eight or the Final Four, and LSU beat Caitlin Clark in Iowa, and Angel Reese is right up in her face as Clark's walking away, pointing at her finger like that. They're going to get the ring, and Clark is just walking away, and that got turned into a huge thing, and people were saying, "Oh, well, if it was the other way around, then you guys wouldn't have an issue with it," and it became a huge race thing. So now I know this is a little bit different because race is, they are bringing up the racial accusations here, but race has been a part of this rivalry and this argument ever since it got started. So that's why I would argue that regardless, even though it is stupid and annoying that race has to get brought up in the first place, why can't it just be fun antics and people not liking each other? Why does race have to get brought up? I still think that it's good for the league because prior to it, we weren't talking about the WNBA at all. It was almost this like it's too much of a joke to even get any discussion time.
They were moving games to bigger facilities to get more fans into the facility so they could watch games whenever Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese's rivalry game.
It's not a coincidence the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever played each other the first game of the year, and it was the biggest conversation in sports that evening.
I hate that that the racial element is a part of it. I hate that. I wish that it was just Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have a rivalry. I wish it was that. But if my memory serves me, and Ryan, maybe you can correct me on this, you go back to the Johnson versus Bird thing and the rivalry that was, and was there not a racial component in that as well?
Yeah, decades ago, there's always going to be that undertone. But
I don't know that there was outright accusations, though, of the crowd being racist or saying racist things to people.
Well, did they just do that whole TV series on HBO or whatever? Some of the behind-the-scenes stuff going on with Magic Johnson and the time. Was it HBO or Showtime or one of them? But they just had that one serialized dramatization of this whole thing going on.
That was HBO.
HBO. And they showed all the behind-the-scenes stuff, so it wasn't all pure.
No, I'm sure it wasn't. The United States in the late 70s, early 80s is a different world.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Larry Bird played into that too. What was one of the great Larry Bird comments? Like, you're going to have to, if I'm getting this quote wrong, please forgive me, but I'm just going to do it anyway. So I think Larry Bird was like, he was playing off the bench and someone was guarding him and he looked over and he said, "Really, this is what you're doing tonight?" Like to the opposition bench. Like, what are you talking about? And he basically said, "You're putting the white guy on me?" All right. So then he goes, he just sounds like one of these great nights. So he kind of played into that too, but I think in a more, I don't want to say innocent way, but that's funny. Like that is funny trash talk as opposed to trying to drum up hostility. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I look at the way, you go back to that and there was trash talk and Larry Bird was, the more I learn about him, he was the king of trash talk. He could
was
talk
so good.
trash.
He was so good.
But I also look at what happens in the WNBA, and it's violent and it feels malicious, not just competitive, but almost malicious. Like, I don't just want to beat you, I want to beat you up. And I don't know that that's healthy. But again, to Ethan's point, I don't know that there's such thing as bad publicity for the NBA. The WNBA needs eyes on the WNBA. That's how you sell advertising and all of that other stuff.
A look of disgrace is better than an eye roll of like, okay, who cares?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my thoughts on that.
Because honestly, I can only name 3 players in the WNBA.
You can name. I'm maybe at 5.
I'm at
6 at best.
You're at 3. Are we thinking the same people? So you have
if you're thinking of Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Brittany Griner.
That's it.
Oh, I forget. Yeah, that's
the only one I know. Because the whole Russian thing. Because that's it. All right. Well, all I can say is I see the articles, I see the headlines, I see people talking about it. I don't care how often it's put up in the news. I'm just not going to invest time into it. I love hockey. I love the NHL. I grew up watching the NHL. I grew up here in Detroit, so the Red Wings were like the biggest thing in the 90s and 2000s. Sorry. I know. Go ahead.
I have nothing but sympathy for Detroit fans these days.
That's
I know.
rough.
So I just completely lost everyone. But I look at that and I say, I love hockey, and I still don't have time to watch that. Like I don't have the investment into just caring about sports leagues because someone told me I should. I just don't.
It's because it's bad hockey.
Gosh.
Red Wings,
I'm done.
had a rough couple of years.
I'm done.
Ethan's throwing bombs.
I know. It was a tough one. All right, Ethan. Did you? I heard a rumor. Do you walk into the building listening to Dancing Queen?
Do I walk into the building listening to Dancing Queen? Only on Fridays.
Oh, so it does. So this is true. So you're jamming to it on the way in.
Come on,
That's
how
your
can you
prep
not be
music.
jamming to Dancing Queen?
Oh, because there's a lot of other songs you could be jamming to. It's not like.
Okay, you have to give me at least the benefit of the doubt. Usually I am picking out music for a female host also. So that
okay, that works.
That plays a part in this as well.
You've had fantastic music selection. I'm just kind of pulling your leg there. Ethan, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. When we come back, I started a new adventure in my radio career. I want to talk to you about it, Brad, if that's all right.
Yeah, let's do it.
Don't forget, we have that poll question going up on our YouTube page right now. If you're buying the whole Jeffrey Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, after the new, basically, people that are very trustworthy are saying there's nothing to this. Do you trust that? Do you believe that? So we'll take some of your comments on that coming up too. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry, 97.1 FM Talk.
Spend with you is a moment I treasure.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Fry Show.
Dominate your fantasy baseball league with Fantasy Baseball Today, part of the CBS Sports Podcast Network. Join Scott White, Chris Towers, and me, Frank Stanfill, every weekday as we recap every player from every game. We'll get you the latest news, waiver wire ads and drops, trades to make, prospect promotions, and everything else you need to take down your league. Follow and listen to Fantasy Baseball Today on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
We're definitely going to be late to the concert. I feel like we should be there by now.
I'm just taking a little detour. I gotta fill up my gas tank, and I know this place a couple towns over where the gas is cheaper.
Are you serious? We're gonna be late for the concert because you're driving out of the way for cheaper gas? Just use Upside.
What's Upside?
Upside is the free cashback app that gets you real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait, I can get cash back just for buying the gas I need anyway?
Yes, I use it all the time, and I've made around $200. Now pull over so you can download the Upside app before we miss the concert.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TRADE25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank, PayPal, or as a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TRADE25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TRADE25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's code TRADE25.
The St. Jude Dream Home Giveaway is your ticket to saving kids' lives and a chance to win the home of your dreams. Check out the 2025 St. Louis St. Jude Dream Home Ticket pop-up and get your ticket before anyone else. Friday, May 30th from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Frank Lita Honda. Reserve your $100 ticket at the dealership before they officially go on sale June 5th. That's at Frank Lita Honda, 500 Auto Mall Drive in O'Fallon. Support the life-saving mission of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital to help cure childhood cancer.
Step outside and fall in love with your backyard again. From inviting porch overhangs to durable composite decks and cozy screen rooms, Lakeside Renovation and Design creates stunning outdoor living spaces designed for relaxation, entertaining, and making memories. With expert craftsmanship and top-quality materials, your new outdoor oasis will be perfect for every season. Call Lakeside Renovation and Design today or visit lakesiderd.com to get started. Let's turn your backyard into the retreat you've always dreamed of.
Stop before you dig. Click or call 811. Every dig, every time.
Planting a tree, building a fence. Before you dig, contact Missouri 811. It's free, it's easy, and it's the law. Submit a locate request at Missouri-811.org or simply call 811 3 days before digging. Dig smart, dig safe.
Stop before you dig. Click or call 811. Every dig, every time.
It's the law.
Sponsored by Missouri 811.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is proud to support Greater St. Louis Honor Flight. Sign your veteran up for the Honor Flight today at gslhonorflight.org. And for HVAC services, visit aircomfortservice.com.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Tried to believe in God and James Dean, but Hollywood sold out.
And welcome back. I'll be filling in for Andy Fry the next couple of days. I'm Ryan Recker, and tomorrow's Friday. Then I'm in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, a couple of days together. So go ahead and feel free to send me your hate mail at Ryan Recker on Facebook and Twitter. Ryan Recker Radio there too.
You can send him accolades too. He's doing a good job.
Oh, that's nice too. So I started something new in my radio career over the past weekend, and I got to tell you, it was unlike anything I've ever done before in radio.
When I heard you did this, I was blown away.
So can I give you my radio resume, some things I've done in my career that's really cool, but nothing has been cooler than this?
Yeah, run it down, man.
So I started on a classic rock radio station, and at that classic rock station, one of the coolest things I did was a promotion where we organized a charity motorcycle ride with Dee Snider from Twisted Sister.
Okay, that's cool.
That was super cool. So the idea was we had a city close to us named Cridersville, and the idea was let's rename Cridersville to Snidersville. Now, he had a radio program, and we said, hey, let's just do this. Maybe we'll do like a video, and it'll be a fun little thing. And he's like, no, man, let's come and do this in person. So he volunteered, and he brought his family like it was a vacation to Ohio. And we did this charity bike ride. It was fantastic. It was awesome. In Indiana, the radio station I worked for, I won a Marconi Award for Station of the Year, which was huge. I was able to induct someone into the National Radio Hall of Fame. He was a broadcaster by the name of Bob Sievers, a wonderful regional broadcaster, but he had one of the largest audiences just based on the way the AM radio used to carry back in the day before FM. It was unbelievable, the audience that he had. And he was just a down-home regular dude, and he was just a special type of guy. And I tried for years to get him into the Radio Hall of Fame, and I did. And his family, now that he's passed, allowed me to do the speech for him, to do that at the Radio Hall of Fame. That was a fantastic honor. I've won a ton of awards. I just won a Murrow Award last week, which was kind of cool.
Congratulations.
Super exciting. Thank you. There's so many different things I've done in my radio career, and I don't know if anything tops what I did this past weekend. I was asked to be a host for a radio program called Coast to Coast AM. So the original show was with Art Bell, went through the 80s and 90s and through basically early to mid 2000s. George Norrie's the host now. George Norrie is someone that lives here in St. Louis, and he's the person that took over for Art Bell, and he grew the show even further. Art has this history to him. He's the OG, and people love Art Bell. And they have a movie they're going to make about Art Bell coming out. Like they're in pre-production or whatever. The last thing I saw was that they were putting out bids for people, and there's studios that are trying to get this movie rights. Art was a very unique guy, way ahead of his time, and he was one of the top broadcasters in the country. And they asked me some time ago, and they said, hey, we're looking for some fill-in people to do weekends. Would you be interested? I said, absolutely. and then they went like 4 or 5 months without saying anything to me. And I thought, well, I guess it didn't work out. And then all of a sudden they said, okay, we're ready to go. And this past weekend was my first hosting of Coast to Coast AM. I did Friday night and Saturday night. Now, keep in mind, Coast to Coast airs on this station.
Yes.
It's on like 650 radio stations across the country. It's easily the most listened to program through the overnight radio. So when I was doing the show from here in Detroit, it's so strange. I'm in like a closet, just maybe bigger than the one I'm in right now, but I'm in a small studio, and that small studio is broadcasting to more people than any other radio program in the country. Like you are the most listened to person during these 4 hours that you're on the air. And it's a paranormal show. You talk about, things that are interesting. Like, so the first guest was near-death experiences and the visions and things people see after, these near-death experiences. We had open lines. We had a guest that was from the SETI Institute, big radio giant satellites they set up to try to find signals out in space. We had someone that created an invention he says he believes can open up a portal. These are the guests that I had to start the show. And I'll tell you what, it was one of the biggest thrills of my life. And they asked me to keep coming back. So I'm going to do, I think, one weekend a month of Coast to Coast AM, and we'll see where it goes. But man, what an awesome, amazing opportunity.
That sounds amazing. And you were saying, so how does that compare? Let's start with the topics. How does that compare to the other stuff that you've done in radio? Because it sounds like you've had a pretty long career.
Yeah, well, I mean, somewhat.
Hopefully
it's longer.
If you put it in radio years.
When you put it in radio years, he has like dog years. It's like you have to figure it out that way. There's a few things that stood out. People really like to talk about you more online with a show that size. So I do searches for my name, like Google alerts and stuff. I started getting a lot of alerts. I'm like, oh, people are mentioning me on these websites and blogs and things like that. And especially on the social media. At first, people said, okay, now keep in mind, Coast to Coast is not a political show by nature. So people looked me up when they announced that I would be guest hosting, and they said, here's another crazy conservative. Oh, this guy's going to stink. He's going to be terrible. We hate him already. And then I did the first show, and politics were not even brought up. And they're like, hey, this guy's pretty good. So that was kind of cool. I won him over. Yeah. The emails, I couldn't believe how many emails I got. I mean, so I did a late night show on the sister station here. And there would be topics where we would light the phone lines up and we would take, 2 hours of phone calls, and it would be like jam the whole time. It's like that on Coast to Coast, except that it's a weird time frame. And the stuff that people call in could sometimes be very random, which is, just one of the nature of the show. It's not like necessarily content driven. I found that my wife was obsessed with looking at people talking about me online. That was a strange thing. Do you care? Like, does your wife even care if anything's said about you online? Does she have any care in the world?
No, I think my wife would rather not know what's being said about me online, to be honest with you. And I don't do Google alerts or anything like that, so I don't know what's being said about me either. But
you should have alerts set up. I mean, I think that for the sake of my wife, just threads of social media posts, people saying mostly good things. She was obsessed with it, so I was not expecting that. I also found that it didn't really hit me that the gravity of what was going on until the bumper music started playing at the very start of the show, in that iconic bum 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 bum, and it starts playing, and that's when it hits you. You're like, whoa, this is real now. This is real, because you're listening to the network promos and stuff that, normally the regular listener wouldn't hear. The only time they fill, like for satellite shows, they fill with PSAs and promos, mostly so if a radio station accidentally misses their cue to play local commercials, it's not dead air for like 3 or 4 minutes, right? So they play things and you're listening to these things, and there's like really not a lot of like substance to it. It's like, hey, here's a guy talking about cantaloupes, and here's something about your landscaping and stuff. So it's like, okay, but man, as soon as that bumper music hits, you're like, whoa! I didn't get butterflies. It just was like the weight. It's like the air changed, the atmosphere changed, and it was fantastic. So I look forward to doing it again.
Yeah.
I got a ton of people on social media started following me randomly on Twitter. Like all of a sudden, just followers.
That's super cool. Do you know the date that you're doing your next one?
Yeah, it's the last weekend of June. Is it the 27th and 28th? Let me check my calendar.
So that would be what, a Friday and a Saturday again? Or?
Yeah, Friday night and a Saturday night and a Sunday. Those are the 27th and 28th. So it's the last weekend of June. So I'm hoping they like to keep it consistent.
Mm-hmm.
The last weekend will be my weekend. That's what I would like to do.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I will definitely be tuning in for that one. I didn't find out before. I had heard rumors that you were going to get to, but I didn't find out until afterwards that you actually did end up hosting, because I would have definitely tuned in for that. I want to hear it. I want to see what, it's such a cool show, in the fact that it's such a departure of what from what we do here. And, our stuff is mainly politics. And then in the 2:00 hour, we get into some cultural stuff and just some goofy stuff too.
Yeah.
But
I'm looking at the comments right now, and people are like, I used to listen all the time. I'd listen all the time. Says Wrecker's very good with comments. So there's people that are talking about it, and I pay a lot of respect to Art Bell. And if you listen to Coast AM, I hope that you listen the nights that I am on. That would be fantastic to get some of these messages.
Yeah. Yep. I'm definitely going to set my calendar and tune in for that.
You are not going to wake up.
I am absolutely
at midnight, or 2 a.m. or whatever you listen.
Wake up at, doesn't it start at like 11?
Well, Central Time, it would be midnight.
So I'm up by then, especially on a Saturday or Friday at least. I'm up that late, so just pop the radio on and listen to the dulcet tones of Ryan Wrecker hosting Coast to Coast.
It was so good. And it messed my weekend schedule up so much because the sleeping was just non-existent.
So they do it live.
It was terrible. Oh, it's live. Yeah. So Eastern Time where I'm in, 1 to 5 a.m.
Ooh, that is super late then.
Yeah. But it went by super fast, and the format plays that way. So I got to tell you, this is what an amazing thing to be asked to do, a syndicated show like that, in particular, one of the biggest syndicated shows in the country and easily the most listened to show during that time slot. It's just amazing. Amazing. I'm looking forward to the movie that comes out when it does, probably in 5 years from now or whatever it is, however long the production time takes, 4 years, or it should be fun. Maybe this is what I should do. Maybe I should cheer that the production gets delayed, and then maybe I can continue on the show, and maybe there's a chance that I get put on as a background character.
Oh, that would be fun.
I'd be there just long enough for the producers and the writers to hear me randomly one weekend, and maybe I'll get lucky and be put into the movie.
Yep.
Who would play me anyway?
Who would play Ryan Wrecker?
No one could ever play me.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't be played. I'm incapable of being played.
I always think about it's one of the Ask Me Anything questions. Who would play you in a movie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who would play you?
There's maybe people that could write the comments down and do that.
Yeah.
If you think there's someone that could play me. All right. So I know we weren't going to take the whole segment talking about this, but thanks for letting me indulge there. But I got to tell you, it's
super cool stuff.
It's been so cool. And I still get emails after the fact and people writing me and stuff and sending me photos and links, and it's just fun. So there's a couple other stories I wanted to get to. And, it's so funny because I said on Coast to Coast, kind of stay away from the politics, things like that. So let's go right back into politics.
I'm down. Let's do it.
The show goes. Did you see the clip of a freed hostage on CNN discussing how he was treated by Hamas?
I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw what you sent me.
It's kind of interesting to think. If you are taken by a terrorist organization and you are alive to tell the story, because a lot of people did not survive. I mean, what really happened was a scary. You could have died at any moment, at any time. They could have just taken your life, and they wouldn't have thought twice about it. They wouldn't have cared. But there's a freed hostage that was on CNN that was discussing the treatment of Hamas and what happened after Donald Trump was elected president. Can we play? I think that's clip 3. Can we play that?
Yes, it's him. He got me out. He got the hostages out. Before we felt like nothing is happening, And I remember ever since he came into the road, they were very scared of him. Yeah, they wanted
who?
The terrorists.
We're afraid of Trump.
Yeah, they wanted Kamala to be chosen, to be elected.
You talked politics with them?
Yeah. They wanted Kamala to be elected. But as soon as Donald Trump was elected, they understood that he wants to bring the hostages back home. Yeah. So immediately the way they treated me changed. So if it's the amount of food, I could say this, that when Trump became president, yeah, the way they treated us changed.
How about that? So he lives to tell the story that he, under the captivity of the whatever prison cell they were in or area they were confined to by the terrorists, one, they would talk politics with the terrorists, and number two, the conditions of which they were held captive were improved after the election. Isn't that something? I was just kind of surprised by just what it's like to live as a prisoner under Hamas. But to think that you would even want to talk to your captors, one, but two, I'm guessing in the back of your mind, you're thinking, how can I manipulate them to stay alive?
Yes.
So politics becomes part of that in some ways. Does it surprise you to think that the changes in American politics with Donald Trump getting elected actually improved his quality of living?
No, I'm a homer. I definitely believe that. And I think that all has to do with how people viewed what a Kamala Harris presidency would have been. It would have been a continuation of the Joe Biden presidency. And, they wouldn't have been very... Well, I understand why they wanted them to live, because the Biden administration was very much like, let's get a Palestinian state. Let's get this thing going. But I also know that they started treating those hostages nicer because they understand that if things go down, they need to have, we treated them well, treat us well, because they didn't want to live under the, for lack of a better term, the wrath of Donald Trump.
Oh, I looked at it a little bit different because I if you're a terrorist, and I don't want to give them too much credit, but my take was that they looked at him as more valuable now to be alive than dead. If they look at Donald Trump and you have a piece where there's actually someone wants to recover and save you from that situation, then you become more valuable to the terrorists that are holding you kidnapped, because they could probably get something, not necessarily money, because they know Trump won't work that way,
right,
but they would use it as leverage for a trade or something like that. But if, let's say, Kamala Harris, they realize that they don't really care if this guy lives or dies, because for as far as they're concerned, this war can go on forever. Terrorists can keep operating the way they are. They're probably going to enable them by funding them back alleyways anyway. So you don't really have any value anymore. So they probably would have treated him worse. That's my take about it. I don't think he's lying that they treated him better. I think the reason why they treated him better was because they realized that a Donald Trump would actually want him back, and Kamala Harris probably wouldn't have cared.
Yeah. You're on to something there, because if the Harris administration would have got in, maybe they were just going to give him what they wanted anyway, and so that man didn't mean anything to him. And food's pretty scarce over there, and why would you give them extra food or anything like that if they just don't mean anything, or you actively don't like the hostage, which I think an argument could be made for that as well.
Yep. All right. So how about this after the break? I can't wait to see these poll results. If you are someone that voted in the YouTube poll, this is great. If you haven't, you only got a couple more minutes. I would go do that now. There's some new information about the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, and you have some pretty high-ranking officials looking at the documents, and they're saying nothing to see here. I've had a hard time believing that. I really am. It's going to take me a little bit to wrap my head around that. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in at 97.1 FM Talk.
My heart is a ghost town.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Fry Show.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now, 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hey guys, it's Mark Reardon. If you're struggling with low energy, performance issues, or weight gain, Game Day Men's Health has got you covered with testosterone therapy, ED treatments, and more in all of a relaxed man cave environment. At Game Day, you'll get a free testosterone test and consultation, all in just 1 hour. Game Day is the premier men's health clinic with locations in Chesterfield, O'Fallon, Missouri, and Glen Carbon, Illinois. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Get back in the game with Game Day Men's Health.
All right, it is your last chance to get onto the YouTube live chat and vote in the poll. We want to know, are you buying the official narrative on Jeffrey Epstein? It's a yes or no question, but we definitely want to hear your comments on it. We know all the conspiracies that go around it, that are surrounding it, and that new news from Kash Patel and Dan Bongino basically saying nothing to see here. We want to know what you think and why you voted the way you voted. So jump on Annie's YouTube page and leave us a comment telling us that, and vote in the poll, and we might read your comment in the next segment. The time is 2:48. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
JerryKelly.com.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Fry Show.
Song of the South, sweet potato pie, and I shut my mouth. Gone with the wind. There ain't nobody looking back again.
All right. I'm Ryan Recker filling in. Wow, so many comments today. I'm looking forward to seeing the poll results here soon. So, like you mentioned, Brad, you got a couple more minutes to go in and vote if you haven't already on the YouTube page. So, can't wait to see that and some of the comments that have came in. Before we get to that, I know we're waiting on Ethan. Did you see the story from MSN? We're all addicted to Zillow now.
I have not seen this story.
Are you? I can't remember. Are you a homeowner?
I am a homeowner.
All right. How often do you check the value of your home on Zillow?
I don't. I live in Illinois because whenever my home value goes up, it just means they're going to charge me more in taxes.
Right. Well, I know Zillow's not a good indicator of the taxation, meaning that the valuation that they give you on that site's going to be different than the tax guy that comes around and does the assessment. Still, I think people are always very engaged with their own property because they want to know, is it worth more? And you're telling me that when the house on the market in your neighborhood pops up, you're not on Zillow immediately looking at the photos?
Oh, I'm not. My wife is.
Oh, she's right into it.
Yes. Especially the ones that are the same or a very similar floor plan to us. There's about 3-4 houses in my neighborhood that are the same floor plan as ours. And whenever those pop up, she is all over it. And a lot of people come in, they do renovations and all sorts of things in those houses. And
yeah. So here's part of the story. It says, in the more than 2 decades since online listings came into being, they've become a key part of many folks' scrolling diets. Numbers provided to the Washington Post by Zillow are staggering. 2.4 billion visits to its site in the first quarter of this year alone. 2.4 billion in just the first quarter of the year. Compare that to 4 million homes sold in the United States in 2024. Zillow is just one of the options. There's Realtor.com, and there's all kinds of different websites where you can go look these things up. If you're looking for a home, you're obsessed with these websites, by the way, because you got to have the leg up on these other people. Because back when it was super competitive the last couple of years, if you missed out on one, it was because you were snoozing, because these homes could come and go in like a day. It was ridiculous. Now it's starting to actually level off a little bit, and it's a little bit easier because the demand, the people that are out there looking are just not the same as the way it was the last couple of years. That just people are holding off. There's just so much uncertainty going on. So it's a little bit better now than before, but the home values keep going up. And like my wife's sake, she gets the alerts and she'll look on there and she'll be like, oh, your home value has changed. And she'll look at the email and log in or whatever it is. And like, oh, it's worth this much now. Now, keep in mind, Zillow has no idea actually how much your home's worth. It uses their algorithms, and it can be pretty accurate, but it doesn't know what's on the inside. You can have chalk outlines on the inside. You could have had a cult move in, and they could have had a mass sacrifice in your living room floor, and they wouldn't account for that sort of thing. Could have been a meth lab in the basement or the garage. They don't know these things.
Listen, if they clean it up, it's okay.
It's just okay. You have to disclose those things. I learned that from Better Call Saul.
Oh, yeah?
About the meth lab thing. You ever? No, not Better. Breaking Bad. Did you watch Breaking Bad?
No, I didn't. It was on cable when I didn't have cable.
Oh, I got you. Brad, you're really missing out, man. That was one of the all-time great shows of all time. So there was, I think it was the first season. It was a fantastic power move. So they send the lawyer in to, or maybe the second season, to go buy a home. So it show's old. It's not going to ruin any plot lines telling you this. But essentially, you have one of the main characters, and you have Walter White, which is the main character, and then Jesse, his apprentice, I guess you could say. And they move into his old parents' house to start cooking meth. And they're trying to sell the house, so it's empty at the time, so they feel like they can go and do this thing. So they're like, you know what? Well, let's just buy the house from them. So what happens is they go and they try to purchase the house. The lawyer goes in and tries to lowball them by a couple of $100,000, and they're so upset. How could you even waste our time? And he's like, well, you didn't disclose it was a meth lab, so maybe if we were to report this that you didn't disclose this, you could lose your licenses, or you can just sell it to us at the price we thought was generous. So that kind of furthered the plot line. Zillow did not disclose that, I'll put it that way. But it also doesn't account for all the bad decisions you make in your own property. I mean, if you go out and, I don't know, rip out a tree that was beautiful, then that could cause some problems. Or you redesign the bathroom and it's uglier than it was before. Got to watch out for those things.
Yeah.
All right, I know we only got a couple minutes. I'm really curious how this polling turned out, because I have a feeling how it turned out, but in reality, I can't wait to hear how this audience answered it. So maybe we read the question again.
Yeah, the question is, are you buying the official narrative on Epstein? And it's a yes or no. Ryan, I wanted to ask you, you keep saying you struggle with this, so I'm assuming what's your vote on the poll?
I'm not buying it. So
You're not buying it.
Here's the thing. I trust them that they're telling us the truth. I'm still going to hold out. There's something tells me we're not getting the full picture. I'm going to hold that out. And I don't know if maybe some of these documents or whatever have been so well scrubbed that it was just not presented at this time. I still want to open and keep the door open for something changing in the future. So I'm going to say I'm not buying it just yet.
So I'm a yes on this poll. I believe Kash Patel and I believe Dan Bongino on the act. I believe that they have the evidence. They've looked at it and they're like, yeah, he did it to himself. So the reason I say that is too, though, like I know that you had brought up there's lawyers out there, or there's rich people and they can afford lawyers and they wouldn't give up that easy. And I think that's normally true, but I also know that there are very powerful people out there that have very much sway over what you do, and they said either you do this or we will ruin this aspect of whatever. And they basically gave him no choice but to do it to himself.
Oh, so
I am in on the conspiracy theories.
Not that there was someone physically there.
Right. I think that he was told to do it and he did it, and it was to save face or whatever. But I
can't
also
wait to see the results.
I also am of the mind that we're not going to get any new information on this because it's been so long that, like you said, most of this stuff has been scrubbed or gone away.
All right, Ethan, what's the result?
Before I give it, do you have any guesses as to what it is? What percentage do you think said yes? Just throw it out there.
I'm gonna say 60-40. 60 believe the narrative now, 40 do not believe it.
213 votes on today's YouTube live chat poll. Are you buying the official narrative on Epstein? 13% say yes. 87% say no.
So they're with me on this one, 87%. Yeah. Wow. I guess I should have probably guessed that. I'm too invested in this story, and the truth has taken way too long to come out for me to just accept it immediately. All right, I'll be back again tomorrow filling in for Annie Fry. Thank you, Ethan. Let's do some Dancing Queen tomorrow, possibly. That'd be great.
Sounds
Brad,
good.
It was always a pleasure to work with you. I guess I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, for sure.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show, 97.1 FM Talk. Mark Reardon coming up.
There are a lot of reasons that I am happy to partner with and endorse Air Comfort Service. I am a true customer, paying customer of theirs. It's not just that they are the very best when it comes to everything